Good morning and Happy New Year's, everyone. Welcome to the 2025 Kansas Shrine Bowl Player Selection Show as we unveil the initial rosters today for the 52nd Kansas Shrine Bowl presented by Mammoth, Saturday, June 21st, 2025 at Memorial Stadium in Dodge City. I'm Bryce Kessler, the Executive Director of the Kansas Shrine Bowl, and pleased to be joined once again by the founder and CEO of Sports in Kansas, Chet Coupland. Good to have you on alongside me again today, Chet, as we get to learn who these players are that are going to represent the East and the West in the Shrine Bowl.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and great to be here, and always an exciting day, New Year's Day, when the 88 players across Kansas are going to hear their name today. So much excitement, obviously, in this game every year, 52 games in a row, and out in Dodge City, I know that they are certainly excited. And be ready if you don't hear your name called today. This is a very, very hard and tough process out there. Media votes come in, and obviously offense, defense for those to come in, and then coaches picks, limitations, on what class you can pick from those coaches, and then only one 8-man player per squad initially. So there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of deserving players that deserve to play in this game, and this isn't a Sports in Kansas All-State team where you made that point to us, and that's a great point. You're not just rolling out players and putting them on a list and doing whatever. You're having to play a game.
Yep.
So you can't have 25 quarterbacks, even though there are really good quarterbacks and running backs, receivers, linemen across the state. There's a process to all of this. So be ready if you don't hear your name called today. But an exciting time, and the real reason is why we're here. For the kids. And for the kids, I don't necessarily mean the kids playing the game. That's awesome. That's great. But the Shriners Hospital for Children and the impact that you're going to have by playing in this game, making, that donation out there as a business or fundraising in the community, whatever it may be. There are a lot of ways to help, and I'm excited to be back to do this show and ready to get to it, to talk to the head coaches today and the rosters and everything involved with it. So thanks for having me, and thanks to all that your staff does. It's a great day to announce the 88 players across Kansas.
Yeah, it's an exciting day, and to Chet's point, there were a little over 450 players who were nominated to play in this year's Shrine Bowl, and that's going to get whittled down to 88 players. So that means 360 or so who won't get picked and are certainly worthy, are among the best players on their team, among the best players in the state, quite frankly. But it comes down to a numbers game, and there's only 88 spots on this roster. Unfortunately, every year, inevitably, a player won't be able to play who gets selected today, whether that's a college commitment that changes, whether that's, God forbid, an injury that would happen, but would force them out of this game. Be ready. Our coaches will be in contact when a roster spot comes open, and you still might get your name called. So we hope you're among the 88 today that do hear your name, but if you're among that 360 or so that doesn't, it doesn't mean that opportunity's not there. It still might come, and we hope that if you aren't selected today, that you'll take that opportunity if it does come, because we do believe it'll be a memorable moment, a memorable experience for you to be a part of this. We're so thankful for everybody who's been a part of it in the past. We're going to kick off 2025 today. As Chet mentioned, there's lots of ways you can get involved. Go to kansasshrinebowl.com, and you're going to find out all the different history about the event, learn more about Shriners Children's, learn more about Shriners, and find out how you can get involved. You can start that today with our fundraising kickoff as we have the donations opened up there at kansasshrinebowl.com/donate. You can do it through our Venmo as well. You can scan that QR code there on your screen, or search Kansas Shrine Bowl on Venmo. And as you hear your players' names, your favorite players, whether it be your son, whether it be somebody from your community, your school, who you want to show your congratulations and support for, make a donation. Put a message for your All-Star in that donation, and you're going to get to see it scroll across the bottom of the screen today during this selection show. So it's a process. You can get tickets already. You can get the brand new apparel that's on sale. You can start signing up and getting registered for band camp and cheer camp and everything else that goes in to Kansas Shrine Bowl week. It is an event. It is a process, but it's a lot of fun. Going through this, it's a process, as you mentioned, to select these players. You're going to find out today, as you hear these names called, that on this initial roster, you won't see any more than 3 schools with multiple picks today. And among those, you won't see any school that has more than 2 players picked today. It will be dispersed across the state. Small classes, big classes, every corner of the state will have an opportunity to get some recognition today, be a part of this team, and be a part of this cause. So we're looking forward to it here today, Chad. I know it's always an exciting day for us to get to unveil these rosters.
Yeah, it's awesome. We're going to talk a lot about some great players today, some deserving players, great young men. I've met, most of these people that are interviewing them or speaking at their schools or whatever it may be, and leaders in their community to represent their school, their town, one last time, high character individuals. And if you hear your name selected today, my message to you is to play in this game. The impact that you're going to have on somebody, and you'll realize it when you're there. You'll realize it with the patient experience that you'll have. It's one thing to sit here and say what we're raising money for, and that's cool. And until you have, or you meet somebody that is impacted by this, or you're helping somebody out, and that's why I've been involved with this since 2012, 2013. It really is life-changing. As I said, we could sit here and talk about all day, every day of what this is about, but until you impact somebody, and what I mean by somebody is those children at the hospital, it really, really is life-changing. And I've had an opportunity to meet so many great ambassadors, patients, people involved with this, the Shriners, different staff members over the years. Now, of course, you and your staff that do such a great job. As I say all the time, people think this is just a game in the summer for football. They have no idea what all goes into this. So, hats off to you and your staff and all the Shriners and all the coaches that take a week off in the summer, and the players that put all this together, and the host.
Yeah.
They roll out the red carpet. They're going to in Dodge City. The last time we were out there, it was awesome. It's going to be awesome this year. Every place that we've ever worked with, over the last 11, 12 years that I've been a part of this has been awesome, and I know they're excited for it. Much more than the game.
Yep, absolutely. That you'll hear that saying, more than a game. You'll hear the saying for the kids, and those kids, when you get to see the smiles on their faces and the gratitude that they have for you as a player to be willing to come out here and be a part of this game to help raise money for them. It is life-changing, and we hope you'll take advantage of the opportunity when that invitation comes. And last year we had such a tremendous 2024. $150,000 was donated to benefit the Shriners Children's Hospital System and these kids that you're going to get to meet. Second largest single year contribution from the organization in the 51-year history. So such a great year. Thank you to everybody who was a part of it last year in 2024 with us. We hope some of you will continue to be a part of it as we move forward here in 25 and beyond. And of course, all the new families, they're going to get the opportunity to see firsthand what this game is about and get to experience it. We can't wait to show you what we're all about and why this game means so much to so many people. So again, we're kicking off 2025 today. Of course, we're going to unveil the rosters, but again, go online, kansasshrinebowl.com, learn how you can donate, learn how you can just support. There's even ways to support the cause and be a part of it that go beyond monetary donations, whether that be volunteering, whether that be just providing something for the camps, Gatorade, whatever the case may be. There's so many ways to get involved, be a part of it, and share in the good that this event has for so many people. So we're going to get to those rosters. I know there's some anxious football players and families out there ready to learn who those players are, who they're going to be that select to represent the West and the East. And we're going to start with the West squad. We'll begin to unveil that roster when we come back for the 52nd Kansas Shrine Bowl presented by Mammoth. But first, we'll take a look at some of the stories behind the game and why we tell you, and this is going to show you why, the Kansas Shrine Bowl is more than a game.
Their whole career has been about themselves. Their whole career has been about getting to college to be the best athlete they can be. This might be the first time they've taken all that they've been given and done it not for themselves.
My name's Sierra Brumback, and I've been a Shriners patient since I was 11. I got to go through Shriners without having to pay $1 for any of my surgeries, my prosthetics, my FOs, my external fixators. It's just insane. That's all I can say, honestly.
How do you thank somebody for saving your child and your family like that? Sierra would not be where she's at today if it hadn't been for them.
It was really fun to actually be there and interact with other kids that were going through things that I went through as well. There was a lot of surgeries there, but I also had a lot of fun there too. The amputation was my 25th surgery.
That's why we're doing this. You're the reason we're doing this. And the Kansas Shrine Bowl is the primary fundraiser in the state of Kansas for the Shriners Children's Hospital System.
I mean, the game is fun, but that's what it's all about. Giving back to the community and helping those kids.
I coached in 283 NFL games. And the Shrine Bowl, I still look back at it, that was as exciting a game as any that I ever went into as a player or a coach.
It was something that will have a lasting impact on me. It really made you appreciate why we were playing the game. It wasn't just a high school all-star game. It had much bigger meaning, bringing notoriety to a very important cause. It made you feel like you were playing for a lot more than I had probably ever played for in my life.
Every kid who thinks they're going to be any good at football thinks about the Kansas Shrine Bowl.
Before the game, I was going to a junior college. After the game, I had 4 Division I coaches standing at my locker with a full ride scholarship. And the Shrine Bowl tipped myself into that, where I could develop some relationships that later on led to my career.
We want to be an all-star event, and that's why we've added cheer, and we have band, and we have all these other activities, because we wanted to make it as special as possible. I want people to feel they've made an impact by doing something fun. We're a philanthropic organization looking to raise money for kids to help them get to the hospital, get hotels, get surgeries.
It gives you a chance to concentrate on making your kid better, not having to worry about that.
My quality of life has definitely improved, and I've gotten to do so much more than I've ever wanted to do.
We want people to know that the money they donate to the Kansas Shrine Bowl is going to impact kids in their community. We're always going to provide those services. You can help by supporting the Kansas Shrine Bowl as the official fundraiser for Shriners Children in the state of Kansas.
Watch me. Watch me shine with every snap. Born to move fans, to cheer and clap. 2 different legs, that's how I play. One built from science to help me on the day. Between these lines, I'm all heart and muscle. Don't stare too long, you'll miss the hustle. Watch me. Pioneers in prosthetic technology at Shriners Hospitals for Children. The most amazing care anywhere.
Welcome back to the 2025 Kansas Shrine Bowl Player Selection Show. We're excited to get to these rosters and start unveiling the names that are going to represent the West and the East in the 52nd Kansas Shrine Bowl presented by Mammoth on Saturday, June 21st, 2025 at Memorial Stadium in Dodge City. Again, I'm Bryce Kessler, the Executive Director of the Kansas Shrine Bowl, and I've got Chet Coupland with me, of course, from Sports in Kansas, and I think there's some anxious people out there ready to hear these rosters, so I guess we better get to it, huh?
Better get to it. A lot of deserving people there today, and some names that are deserving that we're not going to call today, so be ready if your name is called later on as a late addition, but I'm ready to get to it and talk about these fantastic players across the state of Kansas on the west side.
Well, yeah, we're going to start with the West, and again, if you'd like to be a part of the early fundraising efforts, we're kicking it off with donations today. You can send a congratulatory message to your favorite All-Star when you hear their name called. You'll see those messages come across the bottom of your screen on our donation ticker today, and even if you don't want to, if it's not a particular player, you just want to support the cause and be a part of it with us. We're very grateful for everybody who does contribute and helps our mission to support Shriners Children's and these patient ambassadors that you just learned a bit about as well. So, all right. Wait is over. Let's get to it. Let's start unveiling the West Side for the 52nd Kansas Shrine Bowl presented by Mammoth, and we're going to kick things off with a young man who holds 5 school records, a tackling machine from Goddard High School, Preston Hagel.
Yeah, great pickup here out of the AVCTL League. The Conference Defensive Player of the Year for Tommy Beeson this year. Always been some good play from Goddard players in this game, and the Lions get a selection here out of their stud linebacker.
A disruptive force on a Beaver defensive line in Scott City, and a guy who can help you in the special teams department as well, and a golf scramble team if you need that as well. Jackson Rumford is the next pick.
Yeah, this is cliche to say this, and I say it every year, but he does everything but drive the bus for this high school. He is a guy that is an all-state golfer. He is all-state in the javelin. He is all-state dunking all over the place in basketball, has FBS looks in football as a tight end DN. And when I'm out at his practice interviewing this year, he's kicking 50-yard field goals and wins a game this year in the playoffs by kicking a field goal. Great representative of his school, 4-sport all-state athlete, Jackson Rumford of Scott City. And man, has there been some good players from that town over the years.
Another top two-way guy, really at any level. His coach, Tyson Bowerly, says he may be one of the best leaders he's ever had. We're talking about Heston linebacker Carter Gonzalez.
over 1,000 yards this year, and that was a team that had a very successful season out of the Central Kansas League. As you said, one of the best two-way players in Class 3A, loaded division in Class 3A this year. But man, a standout this year is an all-state selection in sports in Kansas from 3A.
Next pick from a state champion squad at southeast of Saline, their undisputed number one wideout, Tucker Thaxton.
Well, man, they were knocking on the door for a long time in 2A, 3A. This year, they got it done. And they got it done in dramatic fashion by winning the semifinal game over league rival Beloit, and then the state championship, knocking off two-time defending state champion Nemaha Central. And this was their receiver athlete. Does a lot for this team. Junior heavy on this team, but man, he was that standout senior. A shout out to Coach Gibhart and company, as that was an awesome run for Tucker Thaxton and the whole team to win that state title in 2A.
Wichita South's tackling leader each of the last two seasons, linebacker Jamarcus Webster.
And going to be a special experience for him because his coach is also on this team as one of the assistants this year. Very, very cool to see that. And this is a player that helped elevate that program this year. This was a team that had their best season since the early 1990s. We're talking a win over Bishop Carroll this year as well. So this wasn't just a pretender this year. This was a team that opened up a lot of eyes this year, and they have some nice pieces back next year as well.
I hear, Chet, that the Derby defense was pretty darn good this year, huh?
Very good.
Well, here's their representative coming from that Derby defense, defensive back Jimmy Middlebrook.
Yeah, in the regular season, I think the varsity defense only gave up like 14 points or something like this. This is the young man, all-state pick in 6A, and you could have pointed about anywhere on that defense and went with a Derby selection. They're that good. Yeah, it's been a bit since they've won a state title, but Derby is always a consistent contender under Coach Clark, one of the Kansas coaching greats, and this is a great pickup from Derby High School.
A 3-year starter on the offensive line for the Buhler Crusaders. The next pick is Bodie Redenbaugh.
A great young man that I had the opportunity to interview this year. Made it, of course, to a state semifinal. Coach Warner does a great job there. He's second all-time in Kansas wins as an active coach, right behind Randy Dreiling. This is one of his best linemen he's had there in quite some time. And, man, they like to run the football, physical smash mouth, and this is a big body up front that can also move. So great pickup here out of Class 4A Buhler.
Well, when you have an undefeated state champion squad, you're going to have some dudes on that squad. And this young man representing Andale, Landon Harp.
Yeah, Landon and Sam brothers, I get them mixed up. Sam is a junior, Landon is a senior, and man, this is a team that very, very good. Obviously, last year lost to Cheney twice, but they're back on top. And this year, man, a competitive game in the state championship against Topeka Hayden. They came from behind. And this guy, athletic, does a little bit of everything for this team out of the backfield, defensive back as well. Great pickup out of Andale that, 3A state champion once again. I believe they've won 5 out of the last 6 in that classification.
Well, speaking of Cheney, the next pick just so happens to be from Cheney and the offensive MVP in the CPL, Josh Burdick.
Yeah, and I've gotten to really know this kid since he's been a sophomore and really one of the top 5 quarterbacks in any class of Kansas, in my opinion. When you're looking at it, he was the non-senior player of the year from sports in Kansas last year. Came up obviously a little bit short this year, but as a junior, him and Jackson Voth, man, they were incredible, winning a state championship, their first ever at Cheney. This guy can sling it all over the place, but not only that, he's a competitor. He's going to go get that extra yard. He's an all-state basketball player. And as I said, he's thrown for a lot of yards since he's been a sophomore. So a great pickup out here, Josh Burdick of Cheney High School.
And that weapon of his that you mentioned, Jackson Voth, part of the West Squad last year at the Kansas Shrine Bowl. Next pick, we go back to the offensive line here, a 3-year team captain. You don't get many captains that are there for the 3 years. You might get starters, obviously, but 3-year team captain for Halstead, Connor Herman.
Yeah, and a kid that I've seen on the combine camp circuit, interviewed him multiple times. Great player out of the Central Kansas League, physical player on both sides of the football, but a great pickup here, an all-state selection in his classification.
And another 3-year guy, this is a 3-year starter. We stay on the line, but this one from Garden Plain, Caden Castleman.
Yeah, I was out at Garden Plains practice this year, and I know his dad, the girls' basketball coach there, Cody, and does a great job with the program. And I go, man, you're a lot bigger than your dad. I mean, I didn't realize he was that big, and he was kind of on my radar since I saw that, and came up just a few votes short from being the player of the year in his class on defense in 2A. Man, some really good players, specifically on the defensive line and offensive line in Class 2A. It was loaded this year. He is one of those players, and not just a 2A player. This guy, you could plug him in at any level. He's going to be an all-state caliber football player.
Our next pick comes from Salina Central. He's the Buddy McConnell Award winner as the team MVP for Salina Central, and that is James McKinney.
Yeah, maybe didn't have the team success that they wanted to have this year under Coach Sandbo, but he does a great job with that program. And offensive line, defensive line this year, they had some great guys. This guy on the defensive side of the football this year, all AVCTL pick, an all 5A pick as well, but definitely some guys that have that talent, and he's one of those and a great pickup out of Salina Central.
And good luck finding a record at West Elk High School that this next young man doesn't have a piece of, and that is all-around athlete Creo Coop.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about not only one of the best wrestlers in the state of Kansas, and obviously they classify it in 3-2-1A. He's an 8-man football player. He won the state championship at his weight class, and I believe, top 3 finished the previous 2 years, or maybe top 2. This guy is incredible. Only probably lost 4 or 5 matches in his high school career. Has multiple records, for all-purpose yards. They put him at slot and running back both this year. This guy can do both, or play linebacker, or play defensive back. I mean, he can do everything. And this is an 8-man player that he's as tough as they come. As I said, not only one of the top wrestlers in the state, I think Midwest, you can say, I think the country, you can say. And it is weird seeing West Elk on the West. And we saw that with Isaiah Loudermilk, an NFL player.
He's done all right.
It's done pretty well for the Steelers. But man, this is, an 8-man pickup here out of West Elk, and you are not going to be sorry with Mr. Coop.
Our next pick is a guy who's a 2-way starter at the 5A level on both lines. So talk about willing to get in there and grind it out with some big dudes. That's from Great Bend lineman Owen Kaiser.
Yeah, I had them being my best team on the West in the rankings all year. Also considering, Goddard, Eisenhower, and Hayes. And then Hayes knocks them off in the playoffs. So maybe disappointing finish to their season, but that doesn't discount how good this Great Bend team was. And it was players like him that stepped up on both sides of the football. All-state caliber player up front. And they're not done. Coach Beck and company returned so much, including a 4-star recruit and an all-state linebacker, quarterback, you name it. But this is a very good program on the rise. They've had some good teams there, and this is certainly one of their good pickups from their senior class.
Andover Central had a loaded squad this year. Obviously, they had a lot of success as state champions, and it's hard to find a better offensive lineman to represent Andover Central in the Shrine Bowl than Dawson Rod.
Yeah, you talk about a balanced team, and talking to Coach Tuttle, they didn't necessarily try to be balanced, they just were. This guy can pass block, he can run block. When you have Maddox Archibald, when you have Jace Jefferson, when you have Jace Adler, and you have Stupka on the outside, any of those guys could be Shrine Bowl picks. It's one of those teams where, hey, the whole Andover Central team, do you just want to show up? The Hurley kid as well defensively. They're that good. But this was the leader up front and a 2-way guy. He even had a pick 6 for a touchdown this year. He was a top 11 selection from Sports in Kansas. He was that guy up front and one of the top 2 or 3 linemen in all classes of Kansas, in my opinion. Standout wrestler as well. Great young man that was just at our event for All-State a few weeks ago. But man, this is a fantastic pickup here. You won't be disappointed with Dawson Rod out of Andover Central.
Yeah, we're not talking like one of those tip balls that just falls in the lap of the lineman in the end zone pick 6s either.
This is impressive. He's an athlete.
No doubt about it. Well, talking about athletes, this next pick, he just happens to also be the all-time leader in TD receptions in Kansas. Not bad. Eisenhower wideout Carter Pabst.
Yeah, and this guy looks the part. He was at our top 11 event, and I'm telling you, this is a dude. He's going to South Dakota State at the next level. If this was 5 years ago, I got to think there's an FBS offer out on the table. But the way that the portal and everything works now, this is a kid that's going to be an impact player at that next level. Incredible what Derek Morgan and him were able to do as that connection over the last 2 years. The 5A Player of the Year this year from Sports in Kansas. Over 1,600 yards. Was it 29 touchdowns, whatever that it was. State records. Just incredible, remarkable what he's able to do. And back-to-back semifinals for a school that's not very old.
Well, the West quarterbacks are going to be salivating after seeing Pabst, but then also we'll double up on some elite guys on the outside as we go next to the far west side of the state, the true west for the west side, and one of the most sought-after players in the country, and not a tight end and really just playmaker, and that's Lincoln Cure from Goodland High School.
I remember when I first met him as a sophomore, and of course knew his sister from being an all-state basketball player for us, and watched him, run hurdles at state. And I made a comment. I have no idea how Lincoln Cure has no offers at this point. 6'6", 205-pound sophomore, and sending his stuff. KU hadn't heard of him. Kansas State immediately after that offered him, and the rest was history. I thought, well, this is just the guy I want to get KU and K-State to offer him. And the next thing you know, he's the number one tight end in the country, 5 stars, and last year he ran 21.9 in the 200. He's back-to-back 300-meter state champion, runner-up in basketball. And, oh, yeah, he's top 11 all-state, had over 1,000 yards this year, 23 total TDs when you combine them. This guy is incredible. And, yeah, I know they had a losing record out there, but he elevated that program to where it was at. And obviously just a great representative of his community and school, and coming from the Mountain Time Zone in your neck of the woods where you grew up. So Goodland's definitely going to be excited about this pick, going to Kansas State when he had everybody out there. That says a lot about that young man. But 6'6", 225 that can run like that, you just don't see that.
Yeah, like I said, those West quarterbacks, seeing Pabst and Cure in back-to-back picks, they're okay with that. Well, Andale already had one kid selected on our first set of picks here, and here's a double up now from Andale. Pound for pound, harder to find a better athlete all around than this young man, as the next pick comes from Andale High School, Cooper Marks.
Yeah, the Marks and Fairchild family, first cousins related. I mean, they've had a lot of success in this game over the years and a lot of success at Andale football. I mean, it's incredible. Top 11 selection, 3A Defensive Player of the Year, second all-time in the history of Hammer in the state of Kansas. That's not even an event. He's a young man that I talked to, a couple weeks ago, thinks he's going to do track at the next level. His brother's a Division I trackster that played in this game that's at Kansas State, and great kid. As well. So wrote me a handwritten thank you note. You don't get those in the mail from our All-State event. I mean, what kid does that anymore? Shows the high character individuals that you like to have in this game. And on top of that, he'll mow you down because he is a great defensive player. And put him at fullback if you want. I mean, he had 17 yards of carry and more pancake blocks than anybody in the history of Andale football. And if you know a thing or two about Andale football, man, they're a powerhouse.
Yeah, well, talk about packing the punch. This next player, kind of a linebacker safety hybrid out of Wichita Northwest, Quavon Harris.
Yeah, Steve Martin, very consistent coach there in 6A, 5A over the years. And, man, he has some dudes. He has some dudes back next year. And this was his 6A first-team D-back this year, a guy that really is one of the great defensive backs in the state of Kansas at that 6A level, first-team All-City. And we're one of those contenders out there. The handful of teams that you looked at on the West this year under Coach Martin was Wichita Northwest, and a big reason was defensive players like Harris.
This next young man, he scored touchdowns in 6 different forms this year. I mean, I was trying to think. I don't even know if there's any other options out there. I think he might have maxed them out. Defensive back from Pratt High School, Owen Schmidt.
Yeah, when Coach Holting texted me about that the night that he did it, I thought it was made up. I mean, it sounds like a career, what he did in one night. And not only that, a great young man as well. He was the Special Teams Player of the Year in the state of Kansas from Sports in Kansas. All-state defensive back, all-state returner. And guess what? He can play a little bit of slot running back as well. Great representative of his school. 2 years at Buhler, 2 years there at Pratt, and also an all-state baseball player. His dad is a former coach at Hutchinson JUCO, so comes from obviously an athletic background, and man, you could plug him in a lot of spots, but he's a ball hawk. Whether he's going to return a fumble for a touchdown, an interception, a punt return, a kick return, you name it, this guy does it in multiple ways.
And this next guy, he's also got a knack of finding the end zone, and an electric return man from Wichita East as well, Carlin Ransom.
And that's been a program that has been elevated as well, and had a lot of success in the regular season, in the City League, in the playoffs, and certainly the recruiting interest over the last few years. An all-state pick in Class 6A this year, and as I said, that's been a program that they're going to have some dudes, and he's one of them on this team. And man, great representative for Wichita East, the Blue Aces.
Going to be playing in the Shrine Bowl relatively close to home, this next player, representing Holcomb High School, another one of just the absolute best linemen you can find in the state, and that's Drayton Knoll.
Yeah, I was out there at Coach Teeter's practice, Trey Teeter, and of course Kent Teeter, the assistant there, his dad, the longtime coach before that won a couple of state titles. And I meet this junior, and man, he's a little bit heavier probably at the time than he is now, but 6'5.5", 315 pounds. And then, he's going out and playing basketball and throwing the javelin and Not only that, he was the 3A and below Sports in Kansas Offensive Lineman of the Year. I know the football coaches that picked seniors only had him on their top 11 team, but one of the best, absolute best linemen in the state. Central Arkansas at the next level, did have a Duke offer early on, some other FBS looks, but this guy passes the eye test, is the real deal, and a big reason that they went to the semifinals this year in Class 3A in the second year under Coach Dieter.
Well, we are halfway home. That is half of your West roster. That means there's 22 more guys still to come. And don't forget, you can start our kickoff of the fundraising efforts for the 2025 Kansas Shrine Bowl today with a donation and a message. You're seeing those messages scroll across the bottom of your screen right now. So go online to kansasshrinebowl.com/donate. Do it through Venmo. You can use the QR codes that are on your screen or just search Kansas Shrine Bowl in your Venmo account. And we greatly appreciate the support for our cause and our mission to benefit Shriners Children's, but also a chance to celebrate the young men who are hearing their names today during this player selection show. Again, halfway home on the West, the East. Stay patient, guys. Your time is still coming up later here this morning as well. So Happy New Year once again to everybody. And when we come back, we'll continue our selections on the West side and get to those final 22 players to represent the West side in the 52nd Kansas Shrine Bowl, Saturday, June 21st, 2025 in Dodge City, presented by Mammoth.
Each day, we choose to take steps forward, to look out for each other, to put a smile on someone's face just because you can. When we slow down, we feel the rhythm of life that holds us together. This is our home, our heart. Simply put, we are your family, your neighbors, your friends. We are Kansas. Local makes a difference. Health insurance enrollment is open now through January 15th. Shop Blue today.
Watch me. Watch me tumble, jump, and soar. When our squad is on point, we own the floor. Dazzling stunts and dances are my jam. Pain once caused issues, but they had a plan. A life-changing brace with no surgery to fear. Activity without limits, one more reason to cheer. Watch me. Industry-leading scoliosis treatment at Shriners Children's. The most amazing care anywhere.
Welcome back to the 2025 Kansas Shrine Bowl Player Selection Show. Alongside Chet Copeland, I'm Bryce Kessler as we continue to unveil the rosters, the initial rosters anyway, for the 52nd Kansas Shrine Bowl presented by Mammoth to be played out at Memorial Stadium in Dodge City on Saturday, June 21st, 2025. Looking forward to another outstanding year, coming off one of the most successful fundraising years in Shrine Bowl history. And thanks so much to everybody who was a part of it last year. And we're so much looking forward to sharing our mission and our philanthropy with these 88 young men and their families this season. So we've already learned 22 players for the West side. Now it's time to get to that second half of this West roster. So we kick things off with another two-way standout, as is the case with a lot of these smaller class guys. This one coming from Mound Ridge High School, Henry Hecox.
Yeah, championship pedigree here. He's won back-to-back state titles in basketball and part of those teams as a sophomore and junior, and have a lot back this year, and had a standout season in football as a quarterback and linebacker as well, all league. The Heart of America, man, they had some really, really solid players and solid team. Upset, in the playoffs this year, probably a little bit disappointed on how their regular season went, because it went very well, and then lost out early, but can't fault anything with that program is on the rise under Coach O'Connor, and a team that has a lot of athletes, and this is one of the best players out of the Heart of America in Class 1A.
KansasShrineBowl.com/donate. You can put those messages in. You'll see them on the bottom of the screen on that donation ticker. If you hear your favorite player's name called today, as we keep things rolling now with a rangy defensive back from Valley Center, led his team with 114 tackles this year, Steele Showmaker.
Yeah, a great pickup out of 5A, and sometimes some hidden players on teams that may not have the most success during the regular season, but got a nice, upset early on in the playoffs this year, and a team that was one of the best, player that was one of the best defensive backs in Class 5A this year, AVCTL selection as well. A great pickup out of Class 5A.
Sticking in that defensive backfield, this guy, a shutdown corner with ideal size, a big-time threat as a wide receiver as well from Clearwater, Cooper Williams.
Yeah, we talk about the AVCTL, multiple divisions of that, and all-league pick there, and obviously some good teams, good players within that. So this guy under Coach Burke did a great job this year as an all-conference selection, honorable mention all-state as well. So great pickup here out of Class 3A.
Well, the order is random. These players come across, and it just so happens we'll go a third straight defensive back, this time from Plainville High School, Roy Bright Jr.
Yeah, and Coach McMillan does a great job with this program out there, new to the program, and, nice win in the playoffs this year as well, knocking off Sedgwick, who was a highly, team that people thought was a contender this year in Class 1A. And this was one of the best defensive backs in 1A, all-state first team, and have a junior back last year that was all-state as well. So the future is bright for this Plainville program. But Roy Bright was bright for this program this year, and making it to the Kansas Shrine Bowl in 1A.
A leader of an offensive line that averaged nearly 7.5 yards per rush attempt this year from Mulvane High School offensive lineman Preston Grube.
Yeah, and this was a team. Manny Myers was the Conference Player of the Year, and a big reason why was the guys that paved the way up front, and this was one of those, players. So Mulvane, great year. Coach Myers, great year as well. A lot of good talent within that, area this year, whether we're talking about Wellington, whether we're talking about Mulvane. All those AVCTL, seems like we're staying with that same conference a lot, but it does represent a lot of different divisions and teams across the state. But a great pickup here out of Mulvane.
A three-time All-State player who Coach says is just an absolute beast from Wichita Collegiate, Tristan Sproul.
Yeah, a 4-year starter. It seems like this guy almost got like a COVID redshirt or something because he's been around for a long time. And yeah, they have some junior stars on this team, but this is their star player, their leader. Coach Black obviously has coached in this game, knows a thing or two about the Shrine Bowl, and great representative of his school, an all 3A pick. And this was a loaded 3A division this year, really. I mean, we can look at the East and West. I know maybe top heavy with Hayden, but you had those great games with Cheney and Collegiate back and forth, and then Andell obviously is the state champion. So some really, really good players, and this young man was one of those.
Another offensive lineman that helped pave the way for an elite rushing attack. This squad put up over 3,000 yards at Conway Springs this year. One of those big reasons was Cooper Coster.
Yeah, fear the wing. And, of course, Coach Beeler does an outstanding job with that program, back-to-back state titles. And this was a big reason why. This guy, paved the way for guys like Braden Kuntz last year, Isaac Winter, the player of the year in his class this year. And obviously when you look at it across, this game, an at-need pick for things like offensive line, a big body offensive lineman that dominated at that level. So great pickup here out of Conway Springs. And man, a program for a 1A, 2A, 3A over the years. I know they're 1A now, but they have been well represented in this game, and well represented with Division I, Division II, FCS type of players at the next level as well.
Our next pick is the single-season interception record holder for Andover Central and part of that state champion squad out of the defensive backfield, Jace Adler.
He told me, I was talking to him a few weeks ago and said that he takes a lot of pride in playing both ways, and he likes that. There's not a lot of players at 4A and above at that level that are getting to play both ways. Not only does he play both ways, this is a guy that has 964, I believe, career return yards. So one of the best special teams player in the state, lockdown defensive back, one of the best receivers in the state, and obviously Stupka, his other receiver there. And you have that loaded team that they had. It was a perfect recipe for the first time since 2013 that a public school won a state championship in 4A on the West, and it was Andover Central under Coach Tuttle this year. And Jace Adler, a big reason why. And you talk about an athletic family. His dad played minor league baseball. His brother started at offensive line for Kansas State. Another brother played Division II and another Division II basketball. Another brother played at Wichita State baseball. So the whole family is athletic, and this may be one of the most versatile ones here in Jace Adler. He's that good of an athlete.
Well, speaking of versatility, this is another guy who is a versatile piece in the West defensive backfield, Mays South, Christian McDonald.
And I wish I knew more about him earlier on in the season, because I'm figuring more and more about this guy that, I may have missed on this guy early on, but man, a ball hawk, the leader, of that defense. And I know they got some young guys back like Hunter Higgins, and Tate McNew leads that offense there. But, Coach Pfeiffer does a great job with this program, and this is one of the guys, all-state pick in Class 5A this year, and an AVCTL pick in the Division I as well. So great representative out of Mays South.
The 52nd Kansas Shrine Bowl is going to be played at Memorial Stadium in Dodge City, and Dodge is going to have one of their own out there representing, and a big play threat, averaged over 17 yards a catch. That's Dodge City wideout Jaden Navarro.
Yeah, and has some speed as well. And Western Athletic Conference, people may have been sleeping on it for a while because we said, well, Great Bend 06 was the last team to a state championship. We can't say that anymore because the Hayes High Indians took runner-up in 5A. And legitimately, there were some dudes. There are always some dudes, but the teams, I felt like, really elevated themselves. And I think that has a lot to do with coaching. Coach O'Neill does a great job, and it has a lot to do with players like Amaro on this team. So Coach O'Neill, a basketball legend in Kansas, a football legend, great guy. Enjoyed getting to talk to him this year when I was out in Dodge, and a great pickup there in his hometown, getting to play there. Be a pretty cool experience for him.
No doubt about it. This next pick, a dual threat, over 1,500 passing and rushing yards, 42 touchdowns accounted for this year. The Manhattan Signal caller, Carter Aslan.
Yeah, I think he came in 13th or 14th in our top 11 voting. He was that close. And if he wins the title, he was that close to doing so this year. A couple of years ago, they won state. He's a top 11 selection. He's that good of a player, dual threat. I'm telling you, that Manhattan team was really, really good, really physical. But this is the leader of that offense. J.J. Dunnigan, of course, the star junior, the 3-star, 4-star, depending on the recruiting service. They had some dudes there for Coach Schartz, and Carter Aslan, the leader of that team offensively. A great player, one of the best dual threats in the whole state. And you could probably play him at multiple spots. I know he's a quarterback, but that dude's just an athlete, and he knows how to win football games. So great representative to get Manhattan quarterback on this list.
We're going to go back-to-back on quarterback here, and a guy to flat out zing it around the yard. And one of his top guys, we've already heard his name. We're going back to Eisenhower for the next pick, and their quarterback, Derek Morgan.
Yeah, it's like one of those things. If Paps isn't there, then Morgan's the player of the year maybe in 5A, but they both make each other that good of a player. And it was that good of a combination, because we talked Carter Paps was unbelievable. He was the 5A player of the year. Well, one of the reasons he was unbelievable in the 5A player of the year is the guy slinging it to him, and the guy that's going to Division I AA FCS at the next level. I think too many programs slept on him. I saw him at several camps and combines, and every single one that I was at, saw him 3-4 times, he was one or two. I mean, he was that good. And I'm talking to a lot of people there. He can sling it, and a huge reason and doubling up here, getting 2 picks from there. That says something about them to get to the semifinals back-to-back. This was a reason why this quarterback and the leader of this team for Coach Fisher, great pickup here out of, I'm glad, because, media selections, coach selections, all that, don't have the ability to double up everybody. And that was one of those ones like, man, you pick this guy, you hope another guy gets selected, and we're not in any order or who got selected, whatever. We're not talking about that. This is random order. But I'm glad that they both got picked here, because they are both very deserving and 2 of the best in all classes of Kansas.
Yeah, going to be a dynamic duo there for the West side. So this next player, I liken him to like the creative player in Madden or whatever. Like if you're going to put a build in a skill set, I feel like Beloit defensive lineman Eli Johnson would be that guy.
Yeah, and this is a great young man that I've had the opportunity to meet his family, meet him, interview him multiple times in multiple sports, whether he's throwing 59 feet in the shot put, where he is the second best thrower in Kansas last year as a junior. That's the whole state, and he's back. I asked him, I said, so how far are we going to throw, like 61, 62 this year? He goes, well, we try to go 5 or 6 feet. And, Casey Seifert is throwing coach there. And, of course, Grady Seifert, who was unbelievable in this game now at KU. Casey was 65 feet. He's going for Casey's record this year. And Casey, had that long-time record in Class 4A, and 65 is at Beloit. And this is not only one of the top throwers in the state, he's second-team All-State basketball. He's 6'6", and, man, defensively, he was the 2A Defensive Player of the Year. And a play away probably from being the state champion. I know they had to still go beat Nemaha, but those guys, the heartbreak that they had to experience for losing to Southeast Saline on that final the way it happened this year, but Eli Johnson, a great representative of his school and community, and what a sports town Beloit is just all the way around. But yeah, you name it, this guy can do it.
Well, we'll stay on that defensive line. Another guy who's going to be pretty disruptive along with Eli Johnson from Wellington High School. He had 23 tackles for loss and 9 sacks this year. Brody Weir.
Yeah, a defensive end, tight end. I mean, you could even play him interior if you needed to. And a guy that really helped elevate that Wellington team. And obviously there were many picks that you could have gone with on this team, the Burnett kid and the Bannister kid. There were so many good players for Coach Meek's squad that really helped elevate them and to be a contender. Knocking off Capon this year, kind of a statement win for them when everybody probably picked Capon. But Brody Weir, interviewed him multiple times, and man, he passes the eye test. He is definitely a dude and being slept on a little bit at the next level. I think, he's going to be a guy that we'll be talking about in a few years at the collegiate level.
A multi-sport all-state athlete who also provides the West with an all-state caliber leg as well, from Norton High School, Eli Jones.
Yeah, and just right before it went to the break for Christmas, he scored 1,000 points in basketball. So this is a guy that a few weeks ago did that. And then on top of that, the quarterback, the linebacker, a great young man. I was out there in the preseason, got to interview him and plays for Coach Melvin, a great coach, consistent coach, has been a coach in this game before, and just a great representative of his community. And you're always going to get a solid player from Norton, and there's been a lot of good ones over the years. And that's an MCL football player. You know all about the MCL. You talk about some tough players, that league brings it.
Another kind of a Swiss Army knife type of guy, this next pick for the West Side from Council Grove, Ace Monahan.
Love the name, and have gotten to interview him, an all-state wrestler as well. Great representative of his team. This was a player that has basically played all 4 years. They were 1-8 when he was a freshman. And we often highlight the teams over and over and over. But I look into, man, how much improvement does a team have to go when Council Grove's not on the map in any way, shape, or form in football to making a semifinal this year and to getting better. And he's a product of that. His coaching staff, Butch Hayes, Darren Reddick, assistant coach, defensive coordinator. This was a guy that played quarterback early on in his career, and then the athlete spot, moving to multiple spots and defensively can play just about anywhere as well. But great pickup here out of Council Grove. And man, what a magical season they had to semifinal run.
Yeah, and Coach Hayes on the staff this year as well for the West. We're going to meet that full staff here coming up in a little bit, but still a few more players to announce. And the next guy, a 3-time All-State lineman at pretty much every position on the line from Liberal High School, Hudson Rice.
Yeah, got to interview this kid right before his junior year. I was out talking to Coach Luders, the old coach at Meade that won a state title there, has really elevated this Liberal program out of the Western Athletic Conference and put them on the map. Big reason why is players like Hudson Rice, Brooks Kappelman last year, Hudson Rice this year, had a true freshman, not talking to college, but freshman quarterback this year on the team. But Hudson Rice, I'm telling you, put him anywhere on any team in the state, he's going to be all-state. He's that type of player, all WAC, multiple years in a row, all-state, multiple years in a row. So a great pickup out of Liberal, who is on the rise out in western Kansas.
A 3-star wideout with blazing speed is the next pick here from Mays High School, Bryson Hayes.
Probably got to be one of the fastest guys on here. I mean, I'm not going to count out Cure, that he's 6'6", 220, but this guy's going to KU at the next level. Had to do a lot this year. Lost a quarterback to another school, so may have not had that, passer to get in the ball. And I know he lined up in the backfield and played in multiple spots. But this guy's a burner. He has speed, and there's a reason that he's going to the FBS level at KU. And I think no matter where you put him at this game, get in the ball.
No doubt about that. A 4-year all-conference player at the 6A level. 4 years, all-conference, 6A. Junction City lineman, Petron Bartolome.
If Coach Zimmerman is not, he's a longtime coach, has coached in this game, been a head coach in this game, an assistant coach in this game. If he's putting a player up, he's going to be good in an all-state selection in Class 6A out of the Centennial League. And that's a league that is, as we talked, maybe the WAC hadn't had a team in a long time and they've elevated. Well, that Centennial League's done the same thing. Manhattan's now contending for state titles. Washburn Rural had a heck of a team last year. And obviously Junction City is a team that always produces consistent talent as well, and that's one of them up front. Just a guy that you want on your team as an offensive lineman that should dominate in this game.
when you look at a lot of these guys' numbers, they're weight room warriors. I mean, some of the numbers are eye-popping for a lot of these guys. This next young man, certainly no different with him. One of the leaders of the McPherson defense, Ketch Delaney.
Yeah, an all-state pick in Class 4A as a linebacker, and of course a guy that, Coach Pav, that the head coach of this game last year, wants great representatives for his program in this game and knows what it takes to be in this game, and all AVCTL pick as well. So McPherson, may have not had the total team success this year, but they're always consistent. One of the most consistent 4A programs in Kansas because of Coach Pav, and it's players like this that make that program what it is.
One of the top guys on a defense that had 5 shutouts this year from Hutchinson High School, Terrell King. Yeah, Coach Vernon, has really got people talking about that program again. It was just an absolute powerhouse for a long time under Randy Dreiling, and Coach Cornelson did some good things there as well. And you didn't hear about him there for a bit, it seemed like, because other teams were on the rise. And this year you did. You heard about him in 5A, and you heard about him because of Terrell King, another one of those guys that seems like he has a COVID year. He's been around forever. All-state basketball player, athlete, special teams player. Cade Smith offensively was their 1,800-yard back. They had a lot of dudes, a lot of guys that you could have went a lot of ways with this, but just a total athlete and a team leader, Terrell King. You will not be disappointed with him in this game. All right, well, we've reached that point. Here's the final pick for the initial 44-man roster for the West Side, and it's a young man who was a Conference Defensive Player of the Year, who also happened to lead his squad to their first ever state title game appearance from Hayes High, Dalton Myers.
Yeah, and a 5A Defensive Player of the Year finalist as well. His brother was a 5A Player of the Year from Sports in Kansas a few years ago, but this guy made a name for himself. Multiple sport standout as well, hard hitter, and really was the reason, the seniors, maybe the last 2 groups people kind of overlooked at Hayes because they looked at all of those guys that had the Division I offers a few years ago. But guess what? This is the only one that's ever made it to a title game. And I know they lost to Aquinas, but just getting there for that program as a town team, as I call it, that's very, very difficult to do in this day and age. So shout out to Tony Crow, who has coached in this game, has done an incredible job with that Hayes program. And you think they're going to drop off. And just when you think they're going to drop off, he gets to that other step. And now it was that state championship game. People from the WAC were very excited because that was an 18-year drought for that conference to get into the state championship. And Dalton Myers, big reason why, knocking off Great Bend, the Road Warriors, and everything that they did in the playoffs, quite remarkable. And that young man, big reason why.
Well, there you go. Those are the 44 players who will represent the West Side, or at least have been initially selected and will receive that invitation to represent the West Side of the 52nd Kansas Shrine Bowl out in Dodge City on June 21st this coming summer. If you'd like to send in a donation and help us kick off our fundraising for the 2025 year, we invite you to, and we are so grateful for those of you who choose to do so. You can do that at kansasshrinebowl.com/donate. You can do that through Venmo at Kansas Shrine Bowl on Venmo as well. And leave a message for your favorite All-Stars that you've heard their names announced here today, and you'll see those donation messages come across the bottom of your screen. We've still got the East to get to, so all of you East nominees, sit tight. Your time is coming. But next, we will introduce you to the West coaching staff and get a chance to chat with the head coach for the 2025 West Side, and that is Dominic Dingle. That is coming up right after this. You're watching the 2025 Kansas Shrine Bowl Player Selection Show.
60 years of excellence. That's CDL. From our roots in a small garage in 1964 to where we stand today, we owe it all to you. 60 years later, we've evolved into an industry leader serving communities with pride. To our dedicated team, your hard work fuels our success. And to our cherished customers, thank you for trusting CDL for 6 incredible decades. At CDL, our journey is a testament to your support. Here's to 60 years and counting. CDL, proudly serving you since 1964.
Watch me. Here I stand on my own 2 feet. Jump shot intact, here to compete. Skilled hands were there to mend the bone. From loving halls that brought me home. My world stopped with a drive through the lane. Now give me the ball. You'll remember my name. Watch me. Orthopedic excellence at Shriners Children's. The most amazing care anywhere.
Welcome back to the 2025 Kansas Shrine Bowl Players Selection Show as we move along here on this New Year's Day, and we're going to introduce you now to the West coaching staff. We've learned who the players are that will represent the West side in the 52nd Kansas Shrine Bowl in Dodge City this June 21st. And now it's time to meet that coaching staff as we see our assistants from each classification of 11-man football in Kansas. Representing the 6A ranks from Wichita South is Russ Wells. Our 5A rep for the West from Hutchinson High School, Mike Vernon. The 4A coach representing Mulvane High School, Daniel Myers, and the 3A coach from Heston, Tyson Bowerly, a former head coach in this game as well, led the West to a victory actually out in Dodge City the last time they were there in 2019. Butch Hayes, Council Grove head coach, is our 2A representative, and Alex McMillan represents Plainville as the West 1A coach. And our head coach from Wichita Heights High School is Dominic Dingle, and he joins us now here on the Selection Show. Good morning, Coach, and Happy New Year's to you. Happy Selection Day to you as well. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning to all of you. Thank you for having me on. Just looking forward and to an awesome game and the ability to obviously talk about our players and coaching staff here.
Well, Coach, you're getting kind of the deluxe edition of Shrine Bowl experience. So 2 years ago, you got to experience it as a father when your son DJ played for the West side. Last year, of course, an assistant coach for the West under Coach Pavlovich from McPherson. So you got the assistant coach experience, and now you're the man. You're the head coach to lead this squad. So just tell us about your experiences over the last couple of years from all the different vantage points you've experienced the Shrine Bowl.
Yes, sir. Super honored. And appreciative to be the head coach this year. Just from all the different angles. One of the unique things is, being a parent of a player in the game and just getting to get that perspective has been outstanding and just life changing for not only my son but our family. And then just all the players that you come into contact with over the years. One of the things that my son had the ability to do is, simply go to a bunch of Shrine Bowl games and watch a bunch of players play and give back to this great game and a great cause. And then for him to have his name, be enshrined and, just that special part of the legacy of the Shrine Bowl was awesome. And then, being assistant last year under Coach Pavlovich and, getting to work with a great young group of coaches and coaches that did a really good job of, trying to give back to the Shrine Bowl process and all that the Shriners do to raise a lot of dollars for the families, and the Shriners organization has been a blessing.
I know you get a lot of time to kind of pick each other's brains when you talk about your coaching staff, and a lot of great football minds. You get to come together with different backgrounds and different views on schemes and everything like that. Take us into some of those conversations that you get to have with those guys, whether that be in the lead up or at camp itself, and just what it's like to experience a week with some other great football minds and talented football coaches.
Yes, sir. I think we've assembled a really unique and talented staff this year. Very, very hard, obviously, to pick coaches and players, but the coaching staff that we have a really good blend of guys that have coached in the Shrine Bowl before and guys that are first timers, but guys that have done have coached at a very high level around the state and produced some really good players and some really good programs. So I'm looking forward to continue to work with them. It was a unique experience. Again, as our coaches around the state continue to nominate really dynamite players and really unique individuals and leaders, it was hard for our staff to kind of limit knock our roster down to 44 players. But we feel we have a dynamic group that is really, really, really special and representing just a great bunch of communities and representing the west side of our state.
Well, Coach, first off, congratulations. I think it's awesome that you're the head coach. And last year in this game, you got to coach one of the first ever six-man players, six-man
Yes, sir.
to 6A. And you coach in the City League of Wichita, 6A, 5A, 4A football. You see some big high-level football, Division I players. But this all shapes and sizes. I believe there have been 5 8-man football players over the last 4 signing classes signed Division I. You put this team together, obviously all shapes and sizes, classifications. It's pretty cool to see. A 6A coach, 5A, competition all year, 6A. What is that like to see all of this come together where there are players really at all levels?
One of the unique things about this game is, as you mentioned, just a lot of levels. We had the ability to watch a lot of tape. Us higher classification coaches don't get to see a lot of 1, 2, and 3A, and even 8-man and 6-man. But just getting in the room and being able to turn on the tape and just watching just such dynamic players at all levels do a really good job has really been an eye-opening experience over the last few years. And then just being able to call around the state and talk to such amazing coaches about their players at all levels has really been an experience that I think my coaching staff and myself have been greatly appreciative of just being able to see what other talent is out there that maybe we don't get to see on a Friday night or even Saturday morning, when there may be a highlight or something pop up. So I think the 8-man guy that we have this year is dynamic. As I've been talking to all the coaches, they said he would run through a brick wall. He's a very physical, dynamic player on the offense and defense side of the ball. So we're excited about all players. But as we tried to assemble the roster, we just tried to get the best available young men from a variety of locations that would maximize our roster and the great game and the ability to raise dollars for the Shriners as well.
I mean, there's no doubt, you're coaching football and you have a talented roster like this. It's fun to be able to move those pieces around, but it's also a challenge. I mean, you guys get a week in camp with these guys to come 44 players from, 40 or so different programs and try to implement schemes and your play calls and just the terminology. I mean, everything that goes into playing a football game, because that's part of it. You actually have to play the football game as well. You've experienced it obviously last year, having to do that with last year's squad. What's that challenge like? What's that process like to try and mold this team to be a team and go out there and play together as one?
The challenge is just making sure you have all the pieces. And then making sure all the guys are, obviously at camp, and then being able to go back to the drawing board. Obviously, you look at tape and you go and you just look at what pieces you have, and then being able to say, I was right or I was wrong about a particular player as it fits our particular team. So what we will do a great job of is having a plan in place and then being able to adapt that plan. I think obviously being in an assistant role and being around the camp even 2 years ago with my son, I think I have a pretty good idea of, how we need to go about it. And then just making sure that we go out and try to execute our game plan with obviously the puzzle pieces that we have. But we have a lot of guys that have played on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, have played a multitude positions. We probably have more quarterbacks on the roster than we actually know what to do with, but we'll try to put them in the correct place that will allow them to make plays, whether it be on the offense or defensive side of the ball. But we wanted to make sure we had great representation from great young men from a variety of communities around the state just to make our roster the best available roster that we had.
Well, I'm not trying to put any extra pressure on you here, Coach, but we all know, the West coming off a loss for the first time since 2018 last year. We're headed out to the real West, going out to Dodge City this year. You spent 10 years out in those parts as a DC there at Garden City for the Buffaloes, so I imagine you're going to have a lot of support, a lot of fans there at Memorial Stadium in Dodge City. So again, I'm not trying to put pressure on you, Coach, but this is kind of a big one for you.
Definitely, it is. It is. Just being able to go out west, obviously being a Garden City Community College graduate, my wife being from there, her family is still there, and just a lot of relationships and just a lot of community support. So it will be rocking in Dodge City. It will be a unique experience depending on what sideline we're standing on and what side our Garden City people are going to, want to sit on as well. But, I think the last time that the game was out west, We had a player, Cavante Baker. I went out there. It was one of the most cooler, unique experiences. I think Dodge City will do a really good job of, representing the Shrine Bowl and putting their heart and soul from the community support to make this game and all the festivities that kind of go with it really, really special.
Yeah, no doubt, Coach. We're looking forward to a great time in Dodge this summer. I'm going to leave you with a chance here to kind of just address your team. The 44 guys have now heard their name called that make up this initial roster for you, and this is your first opportunity to just kind of send your message as they're now head coach for the Shrine Bowl this year. So what would you like to say to those 44 young men who are going to represent the West Side this year?
Yes, sir. I'm super honored, super grateful to have the opportunity to coach all of the young men that obviously made the annual Shrine Bowl game this season. Just super excited. We have a great coaching staff. We've already been kind of developing a game plan. I just challenge each one of the young men to make sure that they understand that we are here to play a football game, but there's so much that goes into this Shriners organization and the Shrine Bowl game, and we want to make sure that we do our part to make sure that we are able to give back and give the Shriners organization just a great opportunity to make a donation and a pledge or whatever it may be to make their efforts and all that they do really, really go together. So we're just super excited to be a part of the process, super excited to be a part of all that goes on with the 52nd annual Shrine Bowl game.
Well, Coach, we appreciate your efforts, your sacrifices to be a part of it. We're lucky to have you as our West head coach this year and looking forward to seeing what you do with the West Side. So thanks again for joining us here on this selection day, and best of luck this year with your squad, and we'll see you out there in Dodge.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
All right, Coach Dominic Dingle, our West head coach, Wichita Heights head coach. Great man, great leader for this West squad. Can't wait to see what he does with this squad. And we know the West Side now. They're going out there into the true West, as I mentioned. So we'll see if they can get back on the winning side of things this year.
A sense of pride whenever you talk to people from the West. I know Wichita's not necessarily West, but it goes to the real West. But they are on the West bracket of football, and some players on the team are on the East bracket, and sometimes that can be confusing with the Shrine Bowl line and the Acacia changes and all that, and that's just because of number of teams out there. But I tell you, not that the East doesn't get excited, because they certainly do, but the West is always going to bring it out there, and they're excited to have that game out in Western Kansas.
Well, let's find out who those East guys are going to be too, huh? All right, we know the West squad, but now it's time to learn who those players are going to be that will represent the East side of the 52nd Kansas Shrine Bowl, presented by Mammoth, which will take place Saturday, June 21st, out in Dodge City. So coming up next, we start to unveil the East roster here on the 2025 Player Selection Show.
Each day, we choose to take steps forward, to look out for each other, to put a smile on someone's face just because you can. When we slow down, we feel the rhythm of life that holds us together. This is our home, our heart. Simply put, we are your family, your neighbors, your friends. We are Kansas. Local makes a difference. Health insurance enrollment is open now through January 15th. Shop Blue today.
Watch me. Watch me shine with every snap. Born to move fans, to cheer and clap. 2 different legs, that's how I play. One built from science to help me on the day. Between these lines, I'm all heart and muscle. Don't stare too long, you'll miss the hustle. Watch me. Pioneers in prosthetic technology at Shriners Hospitals for Children. The most amazing care anywhere.
Welcome back to the 2025 Kansas Shrine Bowl Player Selection Show. Thanks for spending some of your New Year's Day with us here as we unveil the rosters for the 52nd Kansas Shrine Bowl, presented by Mammoth. will be taking place on June 21st out in Dodge City at Memorial Stadium. The West Side has been announced, so again, if you've heard a player that you want to congratulate or you just want to be a part of our cause as we kick off our 2025 fundraising, you can do so by making a donation at kansasshrinebowl.com/donate or via our Venmo as well at Kansas Shrine Bowl, and leave a message, and you'll get to see that scroll across the bottom of your screen here as we continue on with our selections. And it is time to turn the page over to the East Side, who picked up a win for the first time since 2018 in this past year's Shrine Bowl, Chet. So been a little bit of a long time coming for the East. So now we'll see if they can double down and go over into the West and make it 2 in a row.
Yeah, you know, the West in recent years had dominated, and it was pretty cool to see as a Southeast Kansas person to see that happen. Not that I really care too much in this game or to be biased, but that was pretty cool to see, you know, last year for that to happen. But no pressure or anything for those East guys to have to live up to the expectation of some of their former, you know, teammates that played in this game last year. But ready to talk about those 44 great players from the East.
Yeah, absolutely. As we say, the real winners obviously are the kids, and it's such a great opportunity. The 44 players are going to hear their names announced here in a moment for the East Side. We'll get that opportunity to take part of the Shriners Children's Hospital experience and see the joy in the faces, interact and play some games and just be a part of the whole experience that the Kansas Shrine Bowl is all about. And that's why we're here today. It's for those kids and for that cause. So learn more at kansasshrinebowl.com. I invite you to get on there and just look at everything that's behind the Kansas Shrine Bowl, the histories, the story, and find out how you can be a part of it, whether that's a monetary donation, an advertisement, a sponsorship, just volunteering, being a part of it, giving back to our cause and helping us make the Kansas Shrine Bowl such a great experience for everybody. So, all right. I've talked enough. I get it. I know you guys are anxious to hear who's going to represent the East Side. So let's get into it here as we start unveiling this roster for the East squad for the 2025 Kansas Shrine Bowl. And the first guy we'll start with, a big play threat from 4A Wamego, Jackson Tupps.
Yeah, an all-state return man athlete type of player. And Coach Moody obviously has been a coach in this game over the years and has done a fantastic job. And one of the flip-flops, they are West team on the bracket and an East team here, and we saw some of that on the West as well. So if you're used to seeing a team on a certain bracket, the Shrine Bowl line is a little bit different, but a great representative here out of of course, his league, the North Central Kansas League, that's had some very, very solid talent here in recent memory. And Wamego has been a team that has really become a consistent contender, and that's a growing community. Not too long ago, that was a 3A school, and now it's a 4A school growing, that along with Rock Creek, who is now going to that league as well. And it's awesome to see a new consistent contender out there, and Coach Moody has Wamego as that, and a big reason players like that.
Yeah, Coach Moody, of course, led the East squad to that victory last year here in the Kansas Shrine Bowl. And to Chet's point about the East-West dividing lines and all that, I invite you to go to kansasshrinebowl.com/selection process. You can find it in the drop-down under the Shrine Bowl stuff there on the website. It has a map there. It'll show all the different shrine regions in the East and the West. So if you're curious how that dividing line is broken down, go there. And you can also learn more about the process that goes into selecting these rosters. It is a long, tedious process. There are over 450 nominees this year for these 88 spots. So a lot of very talented, worthy players who unfortunately won't get their name called here today, but still may get that opportunity as a replacement player when a roster spot comes open. So, all right, let's dive back into them. In our next pick, maybe one of the most decorated careers any class, any state, and that's Axtell Dynamo, Brandon Schmelsley.
Yeah, this kid's going to KU at the next level. And first off, he's a great young man that I've had the opportunity to know really since his freshman, sophomore year. Immediate impact player, 4-year All-State player. Put him at any position. He's a quarterback right now. And I think I counted up at our All-State event, I think it was 180-plus touchdowns in his career that he had. And he's gone to KU as a defensive back, safety, great size, incredible. Him and his cousin, Eli Brocksterman, who was also a 4-year All-State pick, they started playing football in the first grade and had to go to neighboring communities, whether that was Seneca, whether that was to Marysville, did not have junior high football. Axtell is a small community with only about 40 kids in their high school. If you remember a few years ago, the starting quarterback, the Busing kid, was from an 8-man school in the Shrine Bowl, which is unbelievable to even think about. But there's barely any people there. So they had to go to neighboring communities just to play football. And the crazy thing about it, from first grade to 12th grade, both of those two were on the same team that never lost. So never lost a game. He's going to KU next year, so hopefully KU can go undefeated next year. But that's remarkable. That's incredible. He's all-state in multiple sports. And we talked about the 5 players from 8-man that have had Division I full-ride football scholarships. He's one of those. And this is a great ambassador for his community. And you talk about a supportive community, Axtell, Kansas, incredible. 52-0 under Eric Detweiler over the last 4 years. This guy, one of the best careers in Kansas State history. No matter how we want to look at it, 8-man, 11-man, whatever it is, there are a handful of players on that team right now. I can tell you that every 11-man team in Kansas would want those players from Axtell on your team. So remarkable what they were able to do.
I mean, the ball's got to bounce the wrong way or something along that stretch, right? I mean, you can't just that can't happen. No, incredible there. Our next player, our next pick, a two-way star on both lines for Marysville High School, Ashton Schaefer.
Yeah, just right down the road, not too far away. And Marysville, a turnaround season this year under Coach Trimble, and a big reason why, Otot and Schaefer, guys like that on the team this year that had a really big impact on Coach Trimble and them. Being able to knock off teams like Wamego in the regular season. I know they lost early on in the playoffs, but man, that was a tough bracket for sure. And Marysville's always had some great representatives from their school in this, and this will be a great one as an all-state 3A pickup on the line.
This next player is going to flip from a Wildcat to a Jayhawk next year, but boy, did he put together a career as a Wildcat for Lewisburg High School, Conley Hovey.
Yeah, great size and ability, two-side player, and a guy that was a 4A all-state pick, and had multiple opportunities at multiple levels. Lewisburg had a fantastic team this year. The way that the 4A bracket is drawn up, it just so was that they had to play Bishop Miege in round 1, lost by 1. So those guys, the way it is, it's based on record. And Miege had to play tougher teams all year. Otherwise, I think more people would know about some of these Lewisburg guys because they were probably shorted 3-4 games, or if they play them again, maybe they win. Not to get into that conversation, but I think more people would know about some of these guys. But we definitely know about him and some of his teammates because Lewisburg, really good program, really consistent, and this is a great all-state pickup.
Well, maybe we will hear some more. Wait,
maybe.
So should I say that? No. No, we're counting down these players for the East squad and looking forward to sharing this experience at the Kansas Shrine Bowl with these guys this year. The next pick, an anchor of an outstanding line for Bo Black at Shawnee Mission Northwest, Jacob O'Donnell.
Yeah, Bo Black just stepped down at the end of the year. Shout out to Coach Black. Had a great career at multiple places, even out in Hayes and Great Bend, and did a good job elevating this program at Shawnee Mission Northwest, and a team that ran the flexbone offense and will continue to do that in the future. But this is a guy, offensive line had a great year, and multiple picks that you could have went with. This team had a lot of standout players. Is one of the handful of teams that we looked at on the 6A East this year as a contender. But an all-state pickup out of 6A, Sunflower League was very good this year.
Another key piece on the lines, this one from another talented Mill Valley squad this year, and that is offensive defensive lineman Abe Schaefer.
Yeah, a great pickup here as an all-state pick, can play both sides, and obviously one of their top linemen along with him was a junior on this team, and he was a guy that really stood out to us as a 5A all-state pick. A team that came a little bit short, but 1 point. Had won so many titles in a row, and Taquana's the eventual state champion. Played a ridiculous schedule, and this guy could handle anybody up front. And his dad also, Mick Schaefer, one of the funniest guys on Twitter out there, sports guy, news guy up in Kansas City. So wanted to give him a shout out as well. One of my favorite Twitter follows.
Great. So you're saying that my flub there is going to be all over the social media from Nick now. Well, our next pick is a quarterback who's thrown for over 7,000 yards and 80 touchdowns at the helm of that Seaman offense, Max Huston.
Yeah, this was a guy on the West bracket East team, but some years back and forth depending on what it is. That's just because there's not a lot of population way out west, so there are East teams on the West bracket. But man, this guy originally was going to play Division I baseball, but just absolutely tore it up as a quarterback over the last few years and put up some ridiculous numbers. First team All-State pick in 5A. Did a fantastic job for that program, and really were one of the teams that people circled on the 5A West because they thought, is it going to be Great Bend? Is it going to be Hayes? Is it going to be Hutch? Is it going to be Goddard Eisenhower? Is it going to be Seaman? And they were certainly one of those handful of teams. Reason why, that quarterback.
A big play threat, a track stud as well. He averaged over 18 yards a catch and 10 yards per carry this year for Olathe West. Tevin Gassaway.
Yeah, in the last year, Elijah Akeem, who was in the game, a former teammate, was fantastic. And, big time high jumper ability. And this is a guy here that has great ability, great size. Maybe didn't have the team success they wanted to have, but I'm telling you right now, go play in the EKL, go play in the Sunflower League and play those teams as a regular team, or maybe in another league somewhere else, and tell me what your record is. I think sometimes people often overlook, oh, that team was this, and that. You don't realize the competition and week in, week out, the competition that you see. And this guy shined. So big playability and a great pickup here with some speed.
Did I mention we might hear from Lewisburg again a little bit ago? Well, this Wildcat is staying a Wildcat. Our next pick, also from Lewisburg High School, Ashton Moore.
Yeah, a great young man as well. I think I first met him when he was a sophomore a few years ago, and his brother, obviously an all-conference type of player as a former walk-on to now a great player at Kansas State. But this guy made his name for himself. This guy was a standout two ways. Would have even bigger stats, but their season was cut short early on. But man, you talk about one of the best pound-for-pound linebackers in the entire state. Just missed being our top 11 selection this year, but I thought was probably that best linebacker in that entire Kansas City area, if not right there with it.
Next player is a 4-year 6A starter with a laundry list of accolades on the Washburn Rural offensive line, Caden Estrada.
Yeah, this under Coach Bueller, who has been a coach in this game, it seemed like he was around forever, and they had multiple standout linemen, and this guy shined the last couple of years. Last year, a great run and a great season. Maybe didn't have the total team success, and they played a great schedule, but this guy held his own as one of the best in 6A, two-time All-State pick in Class 6A.
A guy who's got a nose for the ball is always around it for the Piper defense, Tanner McDaniel.
Yeah, tackle machine, multi-year starter, great defensive back on this team, can put him in multiple spots. Should really shine in this game, and multiple-time All-State pick in his class.
Multi-sport star with great size on the O-line from Fort Scott High School, Luke Harris.
Yeah, this is a guy that had some FBS offers and was contacting some FBS coaches on him when I saw him at a camp this summer. I got to be honest with you, I didn't know a whole lot about him, and I saw him at a camp and was texting Coach Graham, Bo Graham, his coach there, and we really thought he had the ability to play. And sure enough, FBS offers come in, some FCS offers come in, and he announced not too long ago that he's going to Pitt State. So that's a major get for Pittsburgh State, play 30 minutes from his hometown. This guy, I'm telling you, he looks the part and plays the part. He is the real deal. Great size up front. You'll be very happy with this guy protecting you on the east side.
Another guy on that offensive line, a 4-year starter and a leader for the Mustangs of Rock Creek, Mason Faith.
Yeah, this is a program that has been on the rise. And yeah, they like to throw it around a lot. You're going to get a good pass blocker here, but it can also run block as well, dominant up front as an all-state selection in Class 3A. And another one of those teams that they were probably hoping this year, they're back and forth East-West bracket. They were West bracket this year, but man, I bet they wish they were on that East bracket because it was a little bit more wide open outside of Topeka Hayden being that dominant team. But Coach Sieben does a great job with that program, multiple programs as the baseball coach as well. And this is a big reason, guys up front like this that really help pave the way for that team.
Another offensive line pick here and an elite center from Blue Valley Southwest, Will Morgan.
Yeah, when you're looking at this game, you can put 5 offensive linemen anywhere that you want, on an all-state team. But you start looking like, well, we got to have somebody, can snap the ball that's a center. There have been some games before that they couldn't go under center, and that did result in a loss one year at the Shrine Bowl. So you got to have a true center in the game sometime.
Absolutely.
And he's one of those guys, a true center for a program that obviously has had a lot of success over the last few years, all-state pick. But a great pickup here. He's played some high-level competition football out of the Eastern Kansas League.
Our next player saved one of his best for last. 7 grabs, 225 yards, 4 touchdowns in a state title game. Wide receiver from Bishop Miege, Taryn Jackson.
Yeah, this guy is the real deal. I mean, they were neck and neck there with Andover Central, big playability. And I'm telling you right now, Andover Central's defensive backs are very, very good. And that had to be one of the best. They saw Carter Paps, obviously, best guy they probably saw all year. Well, that next guy was him. and had that big playability. We saw it all year, and this guy went against the best of the best week in, week out and produced for Coach Holmes. Their schedule, I know they had a losing record going to the playoffs, and there's a reason they made state, but put anybody in 4A against that schedule. It was absolutely crazy to see who they played and how high a level of a player that he was. So great pickup there. Definitely a go-to guy as a receiver.
Another nice addition to the skill guys, if you will, for the East out of Coffeyville, a guy with good size and track speed, Aaron Tunstall.
Yeah, just a pure athlete. Battled some injuries last year in track, but as a sophomore, I believe the 200-meter state champion. A guy that, well respected by the Southeast Kansas League coaches this year as one of the top players. I believe he was even the conference player of the year or voted near the top of that this year out of the Southeast Kansas League. But a very good player there for Coach Wade, and they've had some good players in this game over the years. Keenan White, one of those guys, also did the wrestling for you last year at the duels as well. But yeah, you're getting a good pickup here. They also had a Division I lineman in Keaton Jones going to Mizzou. So Coffeyville had multiple players this year, but Tunstall, man, he's a speedster. He'll be one of those burners on this team that I don't know where you put him, but get him the ball. Even put him on defense if you want. I don't know. He's just an athlete.
Well, speaking of athletes, how good was this next guy? Well, he was double teamed on apparently 88% of snaps this year. That's how much attention he drew, and that's defensive lineman on the inside of that D-line from Seaman, Caden Jordan.
Yeah, out of the United Kansas Conference, almost want to say Centennial, but they switched a few years back to that when some of the Topeka schools broke off into different conferences. And, we talked about, teams having 2 picks. That's one of them right here. We talked about Lewisburg. They're another one of them right there. They had a good year. They were on the 5A West this year and were one of those contenders that people were talking about. Offensively, we talked all about their quarterback that's going to be in this game, but defensively, he was the leader.
What a year it's been for the tight end position in the state of Kansas. We've already talked about a couple of them, and here's another guy who has made a name for himself as one of the elite tight ends in the state and beyond, and that's Girard tight end Scott Moore.
Yeah, it passes the eye test. I mean, you look at him, 6'5", 235 pounds, can run, athletic, pretty decent basketball player as well. Has a few FBS offers. I know Army is one of those, and then Missouri State, who's transitioning to that level. Multiple FCS, Division II, you name it. Can play linebacker on defense, can play defensive end, tight end, fullback, H-back. Can be in multiple spots as in athletic, and had quite a few touchdowns and receptions this year as well. So a player at the next level, you get him in the weight room, I really could see him developing into that next level type player.
This guy gave up 4 catches for 18 yards for the season. If that's not shutdown corner material, I don't know what is. Eudora corner Christian Jarrett.
And man, they've had some talented athletes, receivers, D-backs over the years, and next in line for that, and play a very good, tough schedule out of the Frontier League, week in and week out, and an all-state pick up here out of Class 4A. So very, very good player here out of Eudora.
The second all-time leading tackler at St. Mary's High School, linebacker Howie Rezac.
Yeah, this guy passed the eye test too. 6'4", I believe that he is. Linebacker, tight end. He, have him be the first guy off your bus if you're going, especially at that 2A, 1A level over the years. A few years ago, they're winning a 1A state title. And you talk about week in and week out. We talked about Rossville being a contender in 1A all year at Sports in Kansas, and people were like, well, they've lost. Why would they? Well, look at that new league, the Big East League that was the Mid-East and Big 7. Big 7 and Mid-East were already really good. Well, guess what? You just combine them, and now they're really, really good. So you got to overlook, some records. But my point is, guys like that are in that conference. The Rossvilles, the Silver Lakes, the Nemaha Centrals, the Sabethas of the world, which Coach Michael, a head coach there. So this is a very good pickup here, either side of the football for St. Mary's.
A ball hawk in the Columbus secondary. He had 8 picks this year. Jace Midget.
Yeah, multiple sports standout. A player that, around 800 yards receiving, 8 interceptions that you mentioned. Great kid. I've gotten to know over the last few years. His brother played in this game a few years ago. And I believe his brother left the Shrine Bowl. One of his parents drove him all the way home from, it would have been in Hayes. And he had a baseball game at 8 a.m. like the next day, and I think he got back at 3 or 4. Just the type of competitors that family is. I believe going to go to Coffeyville at the next level to play baseball, but he had a great season as a ball hawk out there. Not only defensive back, but a receiver. You can play him at multiple spots in this game, and really a big reason. Like Columbus, had a down year last year, but elevated itself as to being one of the teams people were talking about out of the CNC League this year.
Chet, you've mentioned a couple of guys. It's like, hey, just find a way to get them the ball because they can make plays for you. Well, this next young man fits that mold as well. An elite playmaker for DeSoto, Jaden Lang.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's an all-state running back, all-state returner. This is a program Coach King has been in this game as a head coach before. He has ran a consistent program there in DeSoto, and this guy is a big-time player. And not only that, I'm probably looking for him to run 10.7, 10.8 this year. I think he ran 10.9 as a junior. What I mean by that is in the 100-meter dash. He can fly. So I don't care how you get him the ball, but you got that kind of speed, he can catch it as well. You get him the ball, he can do something with it. So dynamic playmaker for DeSoto.
Well, those are 22 of the 44 selections to the East Squad for the 52nd Kansas Shrine Bowl presented by Mammoth, and we've got 22 more to go. Don't forget, you can help us out and be a part of our mission to benefit Shriners Children's today as we kick things off with donations. KansasShrineBowl.com/donate, through Venmo at Kansas Shrine Bowl. Send us a message, not us necessarily a message, but send these players a message through us, and we'll get that on the selection show for you as you see the donation ticker going on the bottom of your screen. We can't thank you enough for helping be a part of our cause, as well as in celebrating these tremendous football stars across the state of Kansas, the cheerleaders, the all-state band members that are a part of the Kansas Shrine Bowl. It's so much more than a game, and it's such an event that I encourage you, if you haven't been a part of it, if you don't have a dog in the race, so to speak, I still encourage you to come out and be a part of it with us this year out in Dodge City. Go to KansasShrineBowl.com and you can learn so much more about our philanthropy, about the cause, and about the event itself, and all the different ways that you can help be a part of it. And even if it's just something that might seem small, it's not. It all helps make this such a great event for such a great cause. So we've got 22 more players to go, and I know that you're still anxious out there. Is your name going to get called? Well, we're going to find out. We got 22 more names to unveil. We'll do that right after this break. You're watching the 2025 Kansas Shrine Bowl Player Selection Show.
60 years of excellence. That's CDL. From our roots in a small garage in 1964 to where we stand today, we owe it all to you. 60 years later, we've evolved into an industry leader serving communities with pride. To our dedicated team, your hard work fuels our success. And to our cherished customers, thank you for trusting CDL for 6 incredible decades. At CDL, our journey is a testament to your support. Here's to 60 years and counting. CDL, proudly serving you since 1964.
Watch me. Watch me tumble, jump, and soar. When our squad is on point, we own the floor. Dazzling stunts and dances are my jam. Pain once caused issues, but they had a plan. A life-changing brace with no surgery to fear. Activity without limits, one more reason to cheer. Watch me. Industry-leading scoliosis treatment at Shriners Children's. The most amazing care anywhere.
Welcome back to the 2025 Kansas Shrine Bowl Player Selection Show. Happy New Year's to everybody out there, and we continue to unveil the initial rosters for the 52nd Kansas Shrine Bowl presented by Mammoth that will be played on Saturday, June 21st, 2025 out in Dodge City at Memorial Stadium. Can't wait for it. And so far we've had 66 players hear their name called who now also can't wait for that, but 22 to go for this East squad. And if you hear your favorite player's name announced and you want to send them a message and congratulate them or just help be a part of the cause regardless of whether you've got a player who's been named today, you can do that with a donation at KansasShrineBowl.com/donate or through Venmo at Kansas Shrine Bowl, and send that message in, and you'll see that go across the donation ticker at the bottom of your screen. So we've got the final half of this East roster to get to here, and so we'll kick things off with a guy who is kind of one of those do-it-all leaders for a Blue Valley West squad, tough as nails, linebacker Jack Cook.
Yeah, great pickup here. A finalist for 6A Defensive Player of the Year, an all EKL pick. 6A, of course, all-state team, and comes from a long line of football. His grandpa is the great Colgan legend Chuck Smith that won a lot of football games, and of course all of his uncles played in this Kansas Shrine Bowl, all the Smith brothers there as well. His brother, also played in this game, Thomas Cook, a few years ago, and this guy is going to Pittsburgh State, where basically his entire family played. His dad played, all that, and what a great year that Blue Valley West has as well. So this is going to be a great representative and probably mean a little bit more to him with all that family history being in this game. So pretty cool.
Yeah, I can't wait to have him part of that. So Chuck, Chad, does the East have room for one more? Dad joke.
I think they do.
All right, dad joke here on New Year's Day. Ashton Moore and Scott Moore have already been picked to this East team. How about we add Parker Moore, an elite linebacker from Free State?
Yeah, I really like this guy as a 6A All-State pick, and obviously comes from a great football family. His dad, starting tight end back in the day out of Garden City High School, that went on to KU for a great career. And this young man is going to go to Wyoming. And as I said, 6A All-State pick, finalist for 6A, Defensive Player of the Year, just a solid athlete. And we're in an era now that, man, it is tough and difficult to get those FBS offers and all that. So just really gives you an idea, what caliber player that you're getting here is a great representative of Lawrence Free State.
Next pick is a versatile defensive lineman who was one of the state's leaders in sacks this year, 12 sacks for St. James Academy's Aiden Dreiling.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that led to EKL. And if we know anything about the Eastern Kansas League in football, that's pretty good if you lead that league in sacks, because I'm telling you, look at who's in that league. Google it if you don't know, because it is crazy. All-state pick this year in that conference, and a team that kind of came on late, had some injuries earlier on, but a team that's had a lot of success this year, whether they've been in 4A, 5A, play that tough schedule, play some out-of-state opponents, and play that just top-notch football in Kansas City. And this was one of the best defensive players in the city this year.
The next player is an elite playmaker who led his squad to 3 straight title game appearances in back-to-back 6A state championships from Gardner Edgerton, Braven Powell.
Yeah, I think more people need to know about him in recruiting. He came to our top 11 event. I mean, this dude's probably 6'4". Passes the eye test, and all he does is win. I mean, 2-1 in title games. Out there doing this, as a sophomore, and back-to-back, state titles, coming up short in that double overtime game a couple years ago. But to come back and do it 2 years in a row with the schedule they played, they beat Choctaw, Oklahoma this year, who won a state title, I believe, in one of the bigger divisions of Oklahoma this year. Played a great schedule, played the Mill Valleys, played, everybody through their bracket. In the All Classes Player of the Year on offense from Sports in Kansas this year. When it comes down to just that pure winner and what he was able to do, just incredible. Coach McCall calling the offense this year, and Coach Jesse Owen, what they've done. No state titles. Bubba Starling played there at that. Trayvon Wrench played there. There's some really good players, but guess what? This guy's got 2. And, big reason why is his leadership abilities.
Well, one of the elite playmakers, he'll have a big play guy that he could try to distribute the ball to for this East squad, a speed demon from Tonganoxie High School, Todd Brown.
And really a team that last year was the loaded team, that everybody had all the expectations. And that's why I got to give guys like Todd Brown and Coach Troyer a shout out, because nobody had them being a team that was going to get as deep as they did into a semifinal this year. And a big reason why, 700, 800 yards, him as a receiver, and multiple playmakers that stepped up, that seniors that were probably overlooked. And man, what a great response by getting back, to where they were before, and just an outstanding season as a 4A All-State selection.
An elite corner from Shawnee Mission North is the next pick, Jeremiah Looney.
Yeah, 4.53 speed, and plays top-notch competition and receivers out of the Sunflower League week in and week out. As I said, 6A All-State pick as well, so great athlete. Pick up here on the defensive side of the football for 6A.
Small school kid, but big-time measurables for this young man from Troy High School, Jack Hartman.
Yeah, I believe, 6'4", and, 230 plus, and a player that, played some tough competition this year. They saw Centralia, during the regular season, used to be in the same league, aren't anymore, but saw them in the regular season. Coach Jasper runs a solid program. He's been a coach in this game. They've won a state title, and a great representative there from Class 1A. As we said, there's players at all levels and shapes and sizes. Troy has certainly put some good players in this game over the years, guys like Cutter Huss, guys like that. Great representative there. They're a program that could actually play 8-man football by enrollment, but choose to play 11-man. So, as I said, very good program, a lot of success there, and a great pickup for Class 1A.
You mentioned Centralia, the next pick, a two-way leader for Coach Holtas's 11-win Panthers squad there, Jacob Flinty.
Yeah, just continue to produce top-notch players. A few years ago, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that Campbell Haverkamp may have been the MVP of this game from 1A Centralia when they won the state title. Now, it came up short this year to Conway, but everybody came up short to Conway. But this guy, Flinty, man, linebacker, quarterback, all league. I mean, that league that they play in is absolutely ridiculous no matter what sport that we're talking about. And it's all, if you look at how close, when you've been to these towns, when you got Axtell, Centralia, Sabetha, Seneca, I mean, they are so close for them to have that many athletes. And at one point, guess what? There's more towns around there before they consolidated. It's a remarkable area, and not only community support and everything, just remarkable people, and put out some pretty good sports teams as well.
He led Lansing with 23 tackles for loss this year, coming off at the edge for Lansing, Aiden Ellington.
Yeah, and had a nice year this year under Coach Pollard, and of course multiple players, some younger players that are coming back next year, including Coach's son, Jackson Pollard. But this was one of their senior leaders on this team, and a reason they won some football games this year. So great pickup here out of Class 4A.
One of the backs who stood above the rest in a very tough league is the next pickup for the East. That's Olathe South running back Max Armstrong.
In a consistent career. I mean, back-to-back all-state selections. We're talking about Sunflower. I'm not here to debate whether Sunflower EKL is better, but no matter what league you're producing at the top end, and Sunflower may be a little bit more top-heavy in certain areas, but this guy consistently produce in that league. 6A All-State pick, back-to-back Sunflower League pick, and a loaded league. So you're getting a good one here.
Well, we talked earlier about the benefit and the potential pitfalls if you don't have a guy that can snap the ball and play center. They get another one here, a true center, and a great one at that from Olathe Northwest, Jake Brink.
Yeah, maybe one of those kind of hidden players this year for Olathe Northwest. Have had some success with that program, and obviously a 6A All-State caliber pickup and an All-Sunflower League pickup, so be a great center up front.
He scored 7 touchdowns in one game this year and is a 6-time state track champion as well. I think they'll take that on your squad, and we're talking about Hayton athlete Jensen Schrickle.
Yeah, last year Cheney had the upper hand, and we knew Cheney was a better team. This year, that was a great game with Andell and Topeka Hayden. And I've heard, from multiple people that face this guy, well, that guy was way better than I thought he was. And everybody that talks about Schrickle, and I agree. So I watched it, and he is legit. He's he narrowly missed being on our top 11 team this year. He was just an outstanding player, outstanding leader, a Swiss Army knife type of player for them. Kind of like the Voth kid of Cheney last year. Kind of reminds you of that type of player that can just leads his team to a lot of wins. Back-to-back state runner-up in Class 3A. It's still weird calling Topeka Hayden 3A. It seemed like 4A forever. But, great representative for Bill Arnold, the head coach over there at Topeka Hayden. And a lot of good players on this team, but Jensen Schrickle, real deal.
He's the star corner for Kansas Shrine Bowl Hall of Famer Mark Semino at Shawnee Mission East, Brady Houghton.
Yeah, great pickup here, and this program's improving. They're getting better. 11 years ago they won a state title, their first ever under Dustin Delaney, and maybe dropped off for a bit, but Coach Semino has them going in the right direction. Of course, Semino, a weight room guy, played in the NFL, as you mentioned, Smith Center native, and product of this game. And this guy, getting in as a pickup here, a Sunflower League pick, all league, 6A all league, and a big reason why that defense was much improved over the last year.
We talked about the accolades of the Gardner-Edgerton program a bit earlier when we announced Braven Powell, and he's going to have a teammate joining him on the East squad this year, and just an absolute tackling machine for the back-to-back 6A state champs, Caleb Dewey.
Yeah, really had an opportunity, to be one of those Player of the Year type guys in Class 6A this year and highly regarded, as one of the best players in all of 6A. We talk about Powell being the leader offensively. Well, defensively, it's this guy. This year had an outstanding year, back-to-back All-State pick in Class 6A, back-to-back Sunflower pick. But yeah, just a great representative of Gardner-Edgerton, the back-to-back state champions in 6A. Kind of sounds crazy to say that, but man, they are on the map now, and no longer are they chasing that title as they've been in 3 consecutive. They've been that team on the East, and a few years ago, they were, it sounds crazy, but they were on the West bracket at one point in Keisha. And how close is that to the Missouri border?
Well, they're east here in the Shrine Bowl for sure, and don't see that changing. The next guy is another one who's not afraid to stick his neck in there and make a tackle. Third all-time leading tackler at Basler Linwood High School, Garrett Pierce.
Yeah, Coach Stahlbaumer's been a part of this game and runs a great program, whether we're talking about 5A, 4A over the years. Certainly a player that you look at out of the United Kansas Conference. They had some really talented players, and that league continues to elevate looking at it. And obviously, all-state pick in his class, and then an all-league pick. So great pick up here for the Bobcats.
Highly recruited offensive lineman, another young man headed to Manhattan next year from Blue Valley Northwest, Brock Heath.
Yeah, and a player that, heart and soul of the team, Coach Ryder, a buddy of mine that's coached in this game for the West and the East when he was at Heston, and then at Blue Valley Northwest, led them to a state title a few years back. But this guy, great player going to Kansas State at the next level. His brother Jackson played in this game a few years ago, was a standout player. Just a total athletic family whenever we start to talk about the Heath family, and a guy that's more known probably for offensive line play, but guess what? He's a pretty good defensive player as well. And Blue Valley Northwest had some dudes. I mean, they got a 5-star guy, I think, that's already, going to, Michigan. I think he's already there at this point. And then Heath, 2 Division I offensive linemen, and then, stud guys all across the board and more guys coming up as well. So just some really, really good football in the EKL. This guy, one of those players.
Another versatile player here. We talk about some of these guys, these Swiss Army knife type of guys, and this is no exception. Offense, defense, H-back, you name it. Sabetha's Landon Meyer will fill that role for the East.
Yeah, plays out of the Big East League. That was the first year of that. He was an all-league selection in that league, as we talked about just a bit ago. The Mid-East and the Big 7 combining, that's that new league, and was one of the best players in that, an all-2A pick as well, and gets to play for his former head coach. I say former because Garrett Michael is now an assistant on that, and I almost had to remind myself that he had stepped down, whenever I was at their practice this year, and of course the head coach in this game, because he was the head coach prior when he was an assistant to become the head coach of that. But really cool that I get to share that experience with one of his players.
Yeah, that's the Sabetha way, right? It's not the first time that transition has been done like that, and what a program that they have built there. So our next player had 103 solo tackles this year from a really good Wellsville squad, Carter Wilmarth.
Yeah, Coach Berg has done fantastic, with this program here as of recent, and just a championship pedigree across that school right now. State basketball champions last year, but this young man himself as a 2-way player, offensive line, linebacker, all state, just a stud for this team, and one of the best in 3A. And they've been very, very consistent over the last few years, and big reason, players like this that really, really stood out in a loaded Class 3A.
A Conference Defensive Player of the Year from Atchison, Eric Smith.
Passes the eye test, 6'3", 6'4", 225, 230. I believe has a Mo West offer, some Division II offers out there. Probably being slept on a little bit. Coach Smith, very, very consistent coach up there, and has been there forever and has won a lot of football games. Really cool to see, and no relation to Eric Smith, just one of his players. But really cool to see him get a player in the game. And Atchison's been a team that kind of been slept on the 4A, but they've had some quality players over the last few seasons and have had some great regular seasons.
The all-time passing leader at Humboldt High School, another one of those versatile players for this East squad, Blake Ellis.
Yeah, doesn't necessarily have size that's going to jump on the page, but this guy's just a flat-out competitor. He was very consistent over the last year as one of the best quarterbacks in Class 2A, putting up some big numbers. And Coach Wyrick has established Humboldt as a consistent contender there since he's been the head coach. And I believe this might be his second stint in the Shrine Bowl as an assistant coach as well. But awesome to see Blake Ellis get in here and Humboldt. really developing a nice football program there. They've had some good teams, but very consistent here recently.
Yeah, Coach Wyrick was on the staff actually the last time that the Shrine Bowl was out in Dodge City in 2019, was an assistant on that East staff then as well, and back with us again this year. So a couple more picks left here for the East squad. Another guy who's one of those Conference Defensive Player of the Year caliber players from Chanute High School, Cade Small.
Yeah, Cade Small is going to play linebacker likely in this game. Played defensive line because of a need spot for his high school. But I'm telling you, you won't be disappointed with Chanute's picks. Augustus Thurston was in this game last year. Dagan Dean was in the game the year before. And the guy's name's already Colton LeCrone was the guy the year before. No matter who they put in this game, they've had some really, really good players. And a big reason why is the consistency of Cleet Frizzell. Cleet Frizzell is great football family, played collegiate football. Does a great job with this program. Cade Small going to be a great pickup for A. State, League Defensive Player of the Year. So league may be a little bit overall down to those contenders at the top right now, but make no mistake about it, there's still some great players in the Southeast Kansas League.
And Coach Frizzell, a part of our staff this year for the East squad to help represent some of that success that Chet's talking about. So, okay, we're down to the final pick for the East roster here. And this will round out those 44 players who have been selected to represent the East. And that final selection of the day from the back-to-back state champion Saints at St. Thomas Aquinas on the defensive line, Crew Huenfeld.
They had 2 top 11 selections this year that were juniors. That's how good they're going to be next year. And this guy was really, really close to being on a top 11 selection this year. He was that good of a defensive end. State champions back-to-back. They won 4A last year. They won 5A this year. And guess what? This is not his best sport because he's going to KU to play baseball at the next level. Dad, Division I baseball player as well. This is just an all-around athlete, has great size. And this is another one of those things that I just go, point somebody and say, hey, play in the Shrine Bowl because you're a standout for Randy Dryland because there's that many on his team. They were really, really good. Not to take anything away from Gardner Edgerton, but if I had to name, well, I probably shouldn't even say that. If I had to name the best team, I mean, they didn't lose. They beat Mill Valley. Gardner didn't, so not to cause any fights or anything. But that team was really, really good, and they might be just as good or better next year. So Crew Huenfeld, great player, great representative.
Well, speaking of impossible tasks, there's a lot of players who I know did not hear their name called here today. 88 players have. Those 88 players will represent these initial selections for the 52nd Kansas Shrine Bowl presented by Mammoth in Dodge City this summer on June 21st at Memorial Stadium. And to the 350 to 360 nominees who didn't hear your name called today, it is not something to take as a slight to your football talents or your football career. Every one of these nominees is more than worthy of a roster spot on this Shrine Bowl roster, but it's a numbers game quite simply, and you have 88 spots for 460 kids. But your time may still come, and the replacement players are always needed, whether that be because of prior commitments, new commitments, anything that might change for some of these 88 players who have been selected. And if they have to decline that invitation, a roster spot opens up, and our coaching staff will be in touch to fill that spot. So if you didn't hear your name called today, there still is an opportunity out there potentially to be on these rosters. So the 88 guys, though, that did celebrate, be proud of getting this invitation to play in the Kansas Shrine Bowl. You've certainly earned it, and we truly hope that you'll accept the invitation to be a part of our 52nd Kansas Shrine Bowl squads and everything that goes into being a Shrine Bowl All-Star. You're going to learn a lot more about it with the information that's in the mail right now headed your way. You're going to be receiving an email from me shortly as well to officially invite you and welcome you into the Kansas Shrine Bowl. And we're so excited to share this experience with you and your family. So it is a lot more that goes on with the Kansas Shrine Bowl than just these 88 players and these coaches that we'll hear from. So we're going to talk to the East coaches in a moment, or not to these coaches. We'll see who the coaches are. We'll talk to their head coach for the East squad, Garrett Michael, and then a little bit more about everything else that goes into the Kansas Shrine Bowl. So along with Chet Copeland, I'm Bryce Kessler. The 88 names are out there, but I encourage you, don't turn us off yet. We still got more to talk about here on Selection Day. And don't forget, you can make a contribution to help kick off the fundraising for us and congratulate one of these All-Stars who have heard their name called today, or just send a message that you like to see out there to support the cause. We sure appreciate it, and you can do that at kansasshrinebowl.com/donate or through Venmo at Kansas Shrine Bowl there as well. So we'll chat with Coach Michael when we come back right here on the 2025 Kansas Shrine Bowl Player Selection Show.
Each day we choose to take steps forward, to look out for each other, to put a smile on someone's face just because you can. When we slow down, we feel the rhythm of life that holds us together. This is our home, our heart. Simply put, we are your family, your neighbors, your friends. We are Kansas. Local makes a difference. Health insurance enrollment is open now through January 15th. Shop Blue today.
Watch me. Here I stand on my own 2 feet. Jump shot intact, here to compete. Skilled hands were there to mend the bone. From loving halls that brought me home. My world stopped with a drive through the lane. Now give me the ball. You'll remember my name. Watch me. Orthopedic excellence at Shriners Children's. The most amazing care anywhere.
Welcome back to the 2025 Kansas Shrine Bowl Player Selection Show, as we now know the 88 players who have been selected for the 52nd Kansas Shrine Bowl, presented by Mammoth, to be played out in Dodge City this June. And now let's show you the East coaching staff as well that will lead this squad. Looking at those assistant coaches here from the 6A level out of Blue Valley West is Coach Josh Korkenmeyer, Jared Swafford, the 5A coach for the East from Seaman High School, Cleet Frizzell, the 4A coach out of Chanute, Mike Berg, the Wellsville coach, will be our 3A rep this year. From Class 2A, the Humboldt head coach, Logan Wyrick, and our 1A coach on the east side this year from Centralia High School is Roger Holthouse. And we are now joined by the head coach for the East squad from Sabetha High School, Coach Garrett Michael. Happy New Year's to you, Coach, and thanks for joining us.
Hey, it's a privilege to be on here, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I got to start with the obvious thing here, Coach. You're the lucky charm for the East. You got him back in the win column last year, right, with the win in 2024, and you were on the staff in 2018, which was the last time prior to last year that the East won. So you got to be the lucky charm. What's your secret?
There's no secrets. It's great players and a culmination of great coaches and communities, and we've just had a great group of guys both years, and they've just come together really well, and I'm just humbled to be a small part of it.
Well, you're also going to join an elite group and a very small group of coaches this year, Coach, who have had the opportunity to be the head coach in the Shrine Bowl, and their father has also been a head coach in the Shrine Bowl. I believe it's just the fourth father-son duo to hold that distinction amongst the 90-some coaches who have had the honor of coaching in the Kansas Shrine Bowl. I know that means a lot to you, and just tell us about that opportunity to join your father as a head coach for the Shrine Bowl squad.
Yeah, my dad was assistant in '84 and then became the head coach in 1985, and 40 years later, my dream comes true. I remember being at camp with him, being at the game. I can still name some of the players: Keith DeLong, Melvin Hunter, Putzer Dayton. I mean, all those guys were just heroes to me. And, when I started coaching, being in the Shrine Bowl is a dream come true. And I'm humbled and honored to do it. And I didn't know how many father-son duos had been the head coaches prior to, but it's special here also as being from Sabetha and having John Garber, the longtime coach here at Sabetha, and his son Matt Garber, both being the head coaches in the Shrine Bowl, and me to be the third from Sabetha is quite an honor too, because of our kids and our program and our community.
Well, Coach, congratulations on being the head coach, and it's always fun working with you with sports in Kansas. But obviously, you won a couple state titles, 3A, and now putting this together where there are people from 8-man all the way to 6A. What is that like to see all these players of all shapes and sizes coming together?
It's an amazing event because they're all their best players from their team, or one of them. I know there's several from, there could be one or two from different teams, but they're all the best players. So I believe it gives them a taste of, if they're going to go on to play college football, I think it gives them their first taste of practicing against the best of the East and playing against the best in Kansas. And so I look forward to that, having them show their talents off, but also behind the scenes, just playing for a bigger cause than yourself and seeing the Shriners Hospital kids. And it just doesn't seem like they have a bad day. And I think it puts in perspective that, just the saying of the Shrine Bowl, strong legs may walk so that, or strong legs may run so that weak legs may walk. And I just think it's great to try to bring them all together to make a team in a week and play a game and have them put on a show for the state. But yet, at the end of the day, the hospital kids win.
Yeah, no question about that, Coach. And, it is a challenge to bring these guys together, and there is a football game to be played. It's not just a list of really good players. It is that, but it's also a team that's got to come together and play a football game. Take us into camp week a little bit and just the challenges that are there to try and mold these 44 guys from all these different programs, get them to be a cohesive unit and actually kick the ball off and play a football game.
Well, I think that's the first thing, is to just put them in a position that they can succeed in. And, you look at how many positions do the players play. You also look at, if they're going to college, what positions they might play. But there's always challenges as far as maybe a kid was selected as one offensive position, but this team needs them to play on the defensive side of the ball. And so we have to be very unselfish. And I think that's easy to do when you hear the stories of the Shriner Hospital kids, to be unselfish and to put yourself second or third or whatever it may be. And every kid has a role on the team, and it may not be exactly what they did in high school, but they're on the team because of what they did in high school. And so, again, I just think it's great to play for something bigger than yourself, and I think that gives them life lessons for the long haul.
Well, in addition to bringing all those players together, you also have a coaching staff of some great football minds that all come together from different backgrounds, whether that be, the different offenses and defenses they run, and you got to try to get that to be a cohesive unit as well. We just showed the graphic of the coaching staff for you this year on that east side, and I know you've had some opportunities to meet with those guys already and start kind of putting those pieces together. What can you tell us about this staff that you've got put together this year for the East squad?
Well, it starts with guys that maybe haven't been here before. And from every guy that has taken the invite to coach, they just say, hey, we'll do whatever it takes. They're honored. Some of them have always wanted to coach in this game. And so, again, putting themselves below the team or the coaching staff in whatever role that may be has been fun to hear from them. Not necessarily what I've said, it's just what they've thought of the game and wanted to coach in the game. I know Coach Wyrick has been a coach in the Shrine Bowl before, and he's been out to Dodge City with the East team. So that's where I started right there, as far as, hey, I'm going to lean on you when we go to Dodge for, the 48 hours that we're there. But I think the big thing is all of these guys are head coaches, and now they become assistant coaches. And I don't think I've been on a staff yet that has said, hey, we're just going to enjoy being the assistant coach for once, and we'll let you be the head coach and deal with all the stuff that you have to deal with. But I think for the majority of them, it's kind of relaxing a little bit, and they can coach. And sometimes we get mixed up in all the day-to-day operations of being a head coach, and we miss out on the X's and O's, and we miss out on maybe a great relationship with a player. And so it allows these guys to just take a deep breath and work on the craft that they are excellent at, and that's X's and O's and working with the players and putting the team together.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing how the E Squad rolls out there this year for the 52nd Kansas Shrine Bowl. And Coach, your players have now learned who they are today, so I'll let you leave us with a parting message for those guys, your first kind of opportunity to address your team here. And what's the message you'd like them to leave with today on this New Year's Day that they've learned that they're going to be a part of the 52nd Kansas Shrine Bowl E Squad?
I think the main message is, hey, there's a game to play, but the bigger thing is the Shriners Hospital kids. They are the winners at the end of this thing, and we all got to find our part and our role, and we're playing for something bigger than ourselves and bigger than the team. But I just want them to show off their talents, because there is an abundance of talent in this state, and I realized that the last 4 months of studying film of all you guys that have film up, and I'm just so honored and humbled to be a small part of this, and I hope you are too, and I hope that you just come in and relax and just let your talent show on the field, and then at the end of the day, when you hear the kids' message, we'll figure out pretty quick that we don't have many bad days in our lives, and I just want you to take one thing from this, whether it's a teammate, whether it's a lifelong friend, whether it's a child's story, and take it for the rest of your life, because I have made lifelong friends out of the 3 times that I've done this, and I can't wait to do it again.
Coach, we appreciate your time here on Selection Day, and certainly the efforts and your support of our mission. We definitely could not do all of this without you guys and your sacrifices to be a part of it. So thank you, and looking forward to a great year for the East team.
I thank you, Shriners and Bryce, and all the work you guys do, and the media that Chet's been a part of to help this thing kick off. We couldn't have done it without any of all of your help. So thank you very much.
You bet, Coach. That is Garrett Michael, our East head coach for the 52nd Kansas Shrine Bowl, which will be played Saturday, June 21st out in Dodge City. And Chet, I mentioned that he's going to be just the fourth son to coach the Shrine Bowl after his father had. The previous duos, they haven't both won. Tom Michael did win, so no pressure, Coach, but Garrett Michael has a chance to put a win for the E Squad, and he and his dad be the only father-son duo to both win a Shrine Bowl as head coach. Yeah, really cool story, and I actually ran into somebody last year that was coached in the game by Coach Michael's father, and to see him now as the head coach, really, really cool. And we talked about the flip-flop. He was an assistant this year for Sabetha, but it's carryover from last year where he was the head coach. So a lot of storylines in this, and a great guy, and really, really looking forward to the 52nd Annual Shrine Bowl. Well, we certainly are as well, and I know that there are 88 guys out there that are also now looking forward to that with big smiles here on New Year's Day. We're going to wrap up our selection show when we come back. A few more details on some of the other events surrounding Shrine Bowl week, and also a preview of the second annual Kansas Shrine Duels in conjunction with the Kansas Wrestling Coaches Association, which is coming up this March as well. So thank you for joining us so far today. There's still a little bit more to come right back after this. You're watching the 2025 Kansas Shrine Bowl Player Selection Show.
Watch me. Watch me shine with every snap. Born to move fans, to cheer and clap. 2 different legs, that's how I play. One built from science to help me on the day. Between these lines, I'm all heart and muscle. Don't stare too long, you'll miss the hustle. Watch me. Pioneers in prosthetic technology at Shriners Hospitals for Children. The most amazing care anywhere.
Welcome back one final time here to the 2025 Kansas Shrine Bowl Player Selection Show. We've announced the rosters now that will make up the 52nd Kansas Shrine Bowl presented by Mammoth out in Dodge City this summer on Saturday, June 21st, 2025. The East and the West, the players know who they are. We've met the coaching staffs and we're excited to really kick things off for this 2025 Kansas Shrine Bowl. But I also want to take a chance to mention another exciting event that we've got coming up in 2025. It debuted last year. The KWCA Kansas Shrine Duels, last year's inaugural event, raised $25,000 for Shriners Children's Support. And it was such an awesome debut event last year in conjunction with the KWCA and the 56 wrestlers that we had take part in that, and all the family and everybody that got involved in year one. And we're running it back for an exciting year two. So I want to let everybody know to get ready to join us for the KWCA Kansas Shrine Duels on Saturday, March 29th at Fugate Gymnasium on the campus of Newman University in Wichita. And we're really excited to keep that event going and make it bigger and better. It's the traditional Shrine Bowl fashion of East versus West, team duel, girls and boys. And last year the East took that initial title. So we're looking forward to year two. And I encourage you to go online, kansasshrineduels.com, and learn more about that event. And same thing, how you can get involved, whether that be from an advertising side, from a sponsorship side, or of course, if you're a wrestler who's interested in being eligible for selection for the Kansas Shrine Duels, then go online to kansasshrineduels.com and submit your application to kind of put your name in the running, so to speak. And the KWCA will be making those selections of those wrestlers post state tournament. So it's a much quicker turnaround than what we have for the Shrine Bowl. We don't have the 6-month lead up of selection and event. It's about a 3 or 4 week lead up from selection to event. But it was such a great event in year one, and we're really looking forward to year two there at Fugate Gymnasium on the campus of Newman University on Saturday, March 29th. So again, that's kansasshrineduels.com. And go learn more about that event. So, all right, 88 players have been selected. Chet, we know our rosters now. We've got the excitement brewing out there across the state for the 52nd Kansas Shrine Bowl presented by Mammoth. I thank you for all of the work you put into making this happen, all the support that you give our organization and our cause. And I want to give you the floor here to give that final message out here on such an exciting day for these players who have heard their name called.
Yeah, thanks for having me once again. I love being a part of this organization, and extra sports is extra fun. One last time to see these seniors play a football game for their hometown, for their school, for their community, and doing it for such a great cause and a lasting impact that you're going to make on somebody's life and also your own life, and the relationships that you're going to develop by playing in this game with your teammates, with the coaches. Just such a fun experience, and thank you and your staff, the Shriners, everything that goes into the putting on this great event that I've been a part of 11, 12 years now. So always fun to come on and talk about 88 players selected. And unfortunately, we can't select 88 more. And it's not you or I putting out our all-state team or anything like this. This isn't a Sports in Kansas all-state team or anything like that. And I think sometimes people think that based on emails that we may get and things like that. I get people are disappointed, as they should be, because this is a cool thing, an important thing. But just be ready if your name does get called at a later date. This is a tough process that people have to do. Media members only selecting certain people, coaches selecting certain people, and then the media team that puts those together based on the media votes to make a team. So that's the toughest thing. But just remember, when you're playing in this game, it is for so much more than a game. For the Shriners Hospital for Children, whether it's a tank of gas, whether it's free care, whatever it may be, a hospital visit, overnight stay, whatever it may be, you're helping somebody, you're changing somebody's life out there. And I knew what it was for, but I got involved with it because I'm a nerd with sports and football, and I know the players and I can talk about them in my sleep. And that's why I did it initially, and that's why. But now, having the lasting impact of meeting and having relationships with some of these patient ambassadors or patients themselves, and you hear their stories and how it impacts you. And the first time that it ever happened to me was at a presentation when a student came down in a walker to me and said, "Mr. Coupland, I saw you make your donation last year at the Shrine Bowl game, and it's been 3, 4, 5 years ago, whatever it was." He goes, "Because of you, it helps me get free care." It's like, I'm not an emotional person, and I've told this story multiple times on this, but I about lost it there after doing, a Think Before You Post assembly in a small town in Kansas, and I'm like, wow. I was like, I'm in this for the right reasons. I may have got involved with it because of football, because of sports in Kansas, what I do, but that's not the case now. This is just all fun. Sit and talk with you about high school football, but the real reason is why we're here, and it's for the kids.
No doubt. Couldn't have said it better myself. And to those of you who are getting that invitation to be a part of it, we really hope that you will accept that invitation and pour yourself into it because it is an opportunity to be a part of something so much bigger than yourself. And we do believe that it will have a very positive impact on your life and so many others as well. So the kickoff of 2025 is underway. Tickets are on sale. Brand new apparel is on sale for pre-order at the Kansas Shrine Bowl store right now, online at kansasshrinebowl.com. You can learn about some of the other events that happen during Shrine Bowl week. If you're a cheerleader and you want to come and be a part of the All-State Cheer Camp, that registration is open as well. If you play in the marching band and you want to be a part of the Masonic All-State Marching Band, information and registrations are open up for that as well. You can find all that information online at kansasshrinebowl.com, and we're so excited for the 52nd annual Kansas Shrine Bowl presented by Mammoth coming up on Saturday, June 21st out in Dodge City. I say coming up, and it's like 6 months from now, but it always goes so fast between now and then, so we're just looking forward to it. And of course, while you're online at kansasshrinebowl.com, and thank you to all of those who have been a part of our fundraising already and have donated today and honored your favorite players who have been selected. There's so many ways that you can get involved, whether that be personally, whether that be through your business, whether that be through your volunteer organization. There are so many ways that you can be involved with our event, involved in our cause, that go beyond just monetary donations and things of that sort. So I encourage you to reach out to us and find out how you can be more involved with what we do and why we do it. We certainly welcome everybody to come and learn more about the Kansas Shrine Bowl, about Shriners, and about Shriners Hospitals for Children. For Chet Coupland of Sports in Kansas, I'm Bryce Kessler, and we're glad you took some time out of your New Year's Day to join us here on the Player Selection Show. And congratulations once more to those 88 players who have heard your name called today to be a part of the 52nd Kansas Shrine Bowl presented by Mammoth. You've been watching the 2025 Kansas Shrine Bowl Player Selection Show.